One the game over screen pops up. He shuts it down without a second thought, complaining to the empty room that the game is unplayable without cheats. Ice Age is a niche hardcore survival nightmare. He has been stuck in the first act for days, 100-fold boosts, infinite resources, instant kill mods. All too boring, then a strange mod listing catches his eye, an item called Unstable Mutation. It looks interesting, so he drags the file into the mod manager and starts up the game. The startup music barely begins when a grand mechanical voice echoes in his mind. The Ice Age version update is finished and is about to enter open beta. In 60 seconds, every human on Blue Star between 16 and 50 years old will be dropped straight into the game. The voice describes a world perpetually shrouded in severe cold where most creatures have gone extinct, but life always finds a way. Once the game begins, he will descend next to a bonfire, the fire of survival and civilization. Around it, he must build his territory if he wants to survive in this cruel place. His screen lights up with the Ice Age logo. He does not waste time wondering about the voice. Instead, he scrambles to a nearby box of clothes and starts pulling on whatever he can find. The countdown runs out, and a magnificent voice rolls over him with a flood of white light welcoming him to Ice Age. When his vision returns, he is standing in a world of ice and snow, thousands of miles frozen, drifting white. The cold cuts through him at once. He tightens his cotton coat, thinking it is a blessing his family had so few clothes to pack. Turning around, he finds the source of life behind him, a crackling bonfire. The moment his eyes settle on it, a system prompt appears. Burning bonfire, level 1. It warms everything inside a 10-meter radius by 10 to 20 degrees, consumes 1 wood every 10 minutes, and needs 5 stone to upgrade. A newbie guide follows. Day and night exist in this world, and the temperature drops drastically after dark. A 7-day protection period is now active. Wild creatures cannot enter the bonfire area while protection lasts. Supplies wait in his territory storage box, and he should repair the Lord's cabin as soon as possible to unlock the Lord panel. Both the bonfire mechanics and the guide are exactly the same as the closed beta he had grinded for days. Ice Age was a brutal game on a screen, and now every Blue Star adult is trapped inside. Still, he tugs his coat, knowing he has a slight advantage from the warm cotton clothing alone. Plus, this version update might have lowered the difficulty. Inside the wooden box, he finds a stone axe, an iron pot, an iron pickaxe, and 3 units of food. The closed beta handed out 10. He complains that the update only made things harder, then starts hauling scattered stones into the box. Less than 6 hours of light remain, and if the cabin is not repaired before nightfall, the freezing temperature will do him in. Even with the coat, the stones are heavy, and if transmigration hadn't quietly fixed his old desk worn back, it would have given out long before he finished. Half an hour later, he drags 25 units in. Repairing the cabin requires 15 stone and 20 wood, with the forest at 50 meters from the bonfire, meaning runs in minus 35 degrees. Most newbies would stockpile stone, dash for wood, and slap a cabin together, but he has played this game before. He dumped the collected stones into the bonfire instead. A few minutes later, it reached level 2. Coverage doubled to 20 meters, warming 15 to 25 degrees. With a constant temperature, spending 15 minutes by the fire bought 10 minutes of warmth after he left it. He waited by the fire until a flame mark appeared on the back of his hand, then trudged through deep snow with his stone axe. This 50-meter trek took nearly 30 seconds. The trees were slender, and 7 or 8 swings dropped one, converting the tree into a single useful unit of wood. 10 minutes in, the flame mark dissipated, and the cold sliced through his coat into his organs. He hissed, trudging back to refresh the buff. 3 trips later, he had everything he needed. On his very last leg, he laid 2 pieces of wood side by side, piled loose stones on top, and pushed the makeshift sled back to camp. He triggered the cabin's repair, and a hammer icon immediately flickered above as wood and stone floated out of the storage box to merge into the structure. 10 minutes. The system did not need him, so he melted snow in the iron pot and drank it. Water was not a problem, food was, and 3 units would barely last half a day under this heavy work. He rubbed his stomach, telling himself to cross that bridge. When he got to it, maybe a wild rabbit would run into a tree. He cast his anxiety aside and waited. Minutes later, the cabin stood fully repaired in the snow. His Lord panel unlocked as the first survivor in this area to become a Lord. He gets an exquisite green quality hand crossbow. Talk about a major jackpot. It has 15 to 27 attack power, a 3-second firing interval, and a special effect that automatically generates 1 bolt every 10 minutes, up to a maximum of 5. The description says even a total fool can operate it. He aimed at a tree meters away and pulled the trigger. The bolt embedded itself more than halfway into the trunk. Honestly, his food worries are now officially gone. The Lord panel has territory management, a chat channel, and his details, which read: Gang Yu, a blue star human, level 1 Lord. His strength is 3, agility 4. Spirit 5, constitution 4, health 120, mana 100, talent none. And temperature minus 35.7. He stared at his talent line, which had not existed in the closed beta at all. He closed it, opened it, still nothing, and felt his vision go completely dark. Then came a chime and a voice in his ear, a modifying module was loading, then loading failed. Parameters were synchronizing, the module reloaded, and finally it successfully loaded. His personal talent, Unstable Mutation, had officially activated. The system description told him that his items would all undergo unstable mutations with an entirely unknown direction, but always tied to their original state. The system voice kept repeating that data modification was failing and retrying. The only thing his brain registered was that his cheat had finally arrived. He was no chosen son or some legendary genius, just an ordinary citizen of Dragon Country, and even with closed beta experience, he would not have bet on making it to the end. He silently challenged the talent to bring it on. He had a pot, an axe, and a crossbow. The stone axe was the natural pick. Snowballing his power was the priority, but the moment he focused on it, the chant in his ear shifted and told him the next mutation would no longer be limited to items. A line of almost ethereal text could cause any existence too. It grants a positive mutation to absolutely any single existing target. A basic axe and crossbow simply are not worth wasting this on. The candidates are himself or the cabin, but he wants to stay human. As the small text fades, he points his talent directly at the Lord's cabin. The daily mutation count drops to 0 as the system reports that his cabin has mutated into a world tree sapling, and his territories buildable list has expanded, and his professional skill, Lord's power, is now taking effect, raising his attributes by 10%. Overjoyed, he recalls how legends describe the world tree's leaves as entire worlds, and its roots ending the universe. This 10-meter sapling with 2 suffixes obviously does not carry that weight. But his Lord's power already jumped to 10% during the beta. Tier 3 Lord's mansion with full builds and 100 residents only. Push that bonus to around 20%. This tree easily beats that. It more than lives up to its name, adding a new building layer. Under the basic human structures like blacksmiths and lumber mills, there is now an entire elf race tech tree from Tier 1 up to Tier 3. All unlocked from the start, bypassing his current Tier 1 limits entirely. The World Tree Sapling gives him a total free pass on restrictions. Now check this out, this tier jump is absolutely insane. He clicks the only Tier 3 Moonlight Forest, which can recruit a hero unit. It takes 8 square meters and 72 hours, requiring 10,000 wood, 1,000 stone, 50 liters of moonspring water, and 10,000 natural energy. Power crystals drop from transcendent creatures, while moonspring water is tied. To the moon well and the secret to natural energy pours into his head. Moon wells produce it, and little fairies entwined with plants do too. The territory traits unroll in his mind. He can build natural type. Structures up to Tier 3, each comes with massive bonus effects. Output of natural buildings is doubled, and growth speed is tripled. The population cap doubles to 50, scaling up with the world tree. Best of all, little fairies will naturally spawn in his territory over time. A green fruit is already forming overhead, set to ripen into an elf. By morning, it goes even faster if he spends his natural energy. An hour in, only 4 out of 10,000 local players have unlocked lords. The World Channel shows over 1 million active, with 4 billion worldwide. Everyone gets just one message a day, making the chat scroll like crazy. He can barely catch the highlighted lines reserved for regional first-place lords. Some guy named Andre jokes that -30 degrees is barely an ice age. Jang Gang laughs about the freezing cold and upgrades his bonfire first. Another player named Gang Yewa calls on everyone to unite as one. Meanwhile, Dylan Zion warns everyone about this dangerous new transcendent world. He just shakes his head. None of them are sharing anything useful. The top-tier players are keeping quiet, making the chat mostly useless. He will keep his rank since highlighted messages will matter later. Focusing on fast territory development is his only real path forward. Grabbing his axe, he steps past the bonfire with a 10% power boost. With his strength and frost resistance ticking up, he spends the next half-hour grinding. He soon gathers 30 wood and 10 more stone, enough for a Pullman hut or moon well. Pullman huts recruit polar people, the territory's main laborers for logging. They handle stone and mining, while moon wells collect pure natural energy instead. This energy lets the world tree spawn little helper fairies. He chooses the moon well. Placing it on a random patch of outskirts, he figures he can always demolish it later. Instantly, the plot lights up a vibrant emerald. Snow melts as green vines twist upward. Warmth spreads from the ground, and 8 minutes later, a beautiful moon well appears. Shimmering amidst the frost, the system alerts him that it received the moon's blessing. Under the moonlight, both his natural energy and spring water generation instantly double. Better yet, this sacred spring water now heals physical injuries and restores tired stamina. Since 2/3 of the day here is pitch black, the well's potential is insane. Its daily output more than doubles, which is crazy since the base water had 0 healing before. Talk about a major upgrade. This is not just a moon well, it is a literal goldmine. If building them close together did not ruin their efficiency, he would cover the whole map. But resource gathering takes time, so he refreshes his active buffs and heads back out. He needs more stone. Little fairies can harvest rock, but their efficiency is absolutely terrible. He decides to split the labor. Luckily, his 20-slot inventory makes hauling incredibly easy. Just under 3 hours remain before the freezing night officially sets in. With 2 natural energy and 42 stones stored, he calls upon the world tree. He commands it to summon a helper fairy. A single glowing leaf drifts down from above. It transforms into a floating green orb, a level 1 fairy elf with 2 unique skills. First is Nature Entangle, allowing it to harvest wood and energy without damaging the forest. Second is Self-Destruct, an explosive burst dealing raw damage and draining enemy mana reserves. He tasks the little fairy with harvesting the world tree, keeping it safe inside the barrier. This yields 2 natural energy and 50 wood daily, doubling the rate of any standard tree. This is impressive since 99% of the world tree's energy fuels the territory traits. Even better, these tiny fairies never sleep and do not require any food. Their energy generation already covers whatever tiny upkeep they need to survive. A freezing gust sweeps past. The temperature has plummeted to -38 degrees. He begins to worry about shelter now that his lord's cabin is literally a massive tree. But then he remembers the tree hole feature, a special resting space carved for elves. Since the world tree fits the bill, he opens up a custom hollow inside. Stepping inside one of the massive branches, the howling Arctic wind vanishes instantly. It is a comfortable 12 degrees inside, saving him heaps of fuel and building supplies. He does not linger. There are still heavy stones waiting to be gathered. Stepping outside, a sudden flicker of a white shadow darts right across his vision. He jokingly wonders if a stray rabbit got lost, but his gaze locks on the beast. The system immediately scans the creature, a level 3 snowfield wolf. Boasting solid attributes, it has 150 health points. It possesses an extreme cold physique and deadly hunting skills. The beast spots him. Hunger flares in its glowing eyes, but it can only pace along the territory's border. It previously tried to force its way inside, only to get slammed by the barrier. The novice protection did its job. He remains calm, his lord power activated. Leaving his novice protection behind, he wasn't worried. With the lord's power active, his attributes were close to the wolf's, and he had his crossbow. Meat was on the menu for dinner. He tucked the weapon behind his back and walked toward it slowly. That first shot had to count. 10 meters 8-7. He drew, aimed, and pulled the trigger. The wolf's sharp instincts sensed danger, and it leaped aside, but not fast enough. The bolt lodged in its collarbone instead of its eye. It glared, turned, and tried to escape. He wouldn't let a wounded target escape. He fired a second bolt straight into its lower back, hitting the vulnerable spine of even a transcendent beast, sending it crashing into the snow. Still no kill. Notification popped up. He fired a third bolt right through its eye, and it finally went limp. The system prompts flashed immediately. Killed a level 3 snowfield wolf. Gained 30 experience points. He also obtained 1 market blueprint as a guaranteed first kill. Reward: as the very first survivor in this zone to slay a wild beast, he received a rare Frostwolf cavalry recruitment scroll. Soon, the corpse became ready for harvesting with a soft flash of light. He gathered 1 perfect common quality snowwolf pelt, 18 kilograms of fresh wolf meat, and a sharp fang to forge future weapons. Or arrows. The system fee was pretty steep, but attempting to skin. Manually skinning it would take hours and ruin the pelt. The market blueprint let him build a market for cross-region trading inside his own area at Tier 1, taking a handling fee on every transaction. He shelved the build since no other survivors could kill wild monsters yet or had useful resources to trade. But that Frostwolf cavalry recruitment scroll was the real highlight. Green and excellent quality, a level 3 common template with excellent aptitude and initial loyalty. Of 60, using 2 population slots and 5 food daily, recruitment scrolls were one of 3. Combat unit sources, alongside training buildings and subdued natives, making them extremely rare. Outside the novice period, this Frostwolf cavalry consisted of orc troops, a relatively powerful race. Their combat power came from level templates in race, with templates ranging from common to elite to hero. Aptitudes scaled from common up through mythical tiers, setting each unit's level cap. Survivors like him weren't aptitude capped, only tier capped, and Tier 1 capped his residence at level 10. He didn't open the scroll. Less than 2 hours of daylight remained, and he wasn't planning to travel far, and a combat creature would only consume valuable food overnight. There was also a second reason: his talent. He hadn't decided whether tomorrow's mutation should land on the scroll. Back at camp, he tossed his spoils into the storage box and collapsed by the fire, the aftermath of his kill finally catching up with him. 3 crossbow shots, a dead wolf, and his heart was still hammering. Blood gushing from a wound, the wail of a dying animal. None of it was on a screen this time. He told himself out loud that a lord could not afford to be a weak leader who couldn't fight his own battles. This was harsh reality, and anything that threatened his territory could easily come straight for him. As night fell, the world went silent except for the bonfire's warm crackle. He sat there, roasting wolf meat in an iron pot. At 6 in the evening, it was pitch black. And he was absolutely starving. His construction list included kitchens and stoves, but he had skipped those to save wood. Just one pot, a handful of snow and meat was enough. The aroma rose, fat sizzled, and his mouth watered before he even bit. Wolf meat without seasoning wasn't exactly delicious, but thinking of his watching others beg for food somehow made his own meal taste better. He scrolled the channel while eating, endless pleas for water, arguments over whether drinking melted snow was safe. A wild tiger blocked one person's door. Another player joked that a slide tackle was the only real answer. One worker got flagged for extreme cold exposure, begging for a doctor. Beneath all the chaos, a quiet voice shared a useful trick. Standing by an upgraded bonfire for 15 minutes granted a 10-minute warmth buff. Night had trapped everyone. Nearly 9,000 survivors in this zone clung together for warmth, with over 1,000 yet to even unlock their lords. Panel, he could only wish them luck. Outside, the freezing temperature crept toward -50. Even with the fire and a thick wolf hide on his shoulders, he felt the bitter bite of cold. Anyone without a cabin or an upgraded fire was finished. On night 1, the death toll hit 10%. Losing a 1,000 sounded tiny until you multiplied it across 4 billion teleported humans. That meant 400 million dead in a single night. He had no room to grieve. Here, he was just an ant, completely powerless to control his own destiny. Yet, someone in the world channel was already making major moves. Markets rose and trades closed fast. The advice rolled in: hunt any level 1 monster to secure a market. Blueprint enabling quick trading with a 5% tax. Counter comments fired back that talking was easy, but hunting was dangerous, especially since wood remained a massive bottleneck even with blueprints. Some guessed that the lucky few had stumbled onto hidden treasure chests or free resources. With 4 billion players, even impossible odds produced a few lucky winners. He told himself there was no rush. With his world tree sapling talent, his power would grow steadily every day. After eating some roasted meat and hot soup, he leaned back, completely satisfied. Inside his cozy tree shelter, the once empty space now featured a newly crafted wooden bed, a table, and chairs made from just 2 wood blocks. These otherworld nights offered zero entertainment besides group chats and shivering. He curled up under his wolf skin, closed his eyes, and slept more soundly than he had in years. The next morning, a system announcement congratulated the survivors who made it through, reminding him that the shield had only 6 days and 8 hours left, set to expire during the deadliest phase. The local channel count stood at 8,872, almost 200 fewer. Even with sturdy cabins, the unprepared still froze. Countless cries for help flooded the chats, but honestly, who has the luxury to save anyone else? To get supplies, you had to trade, meaning you were already doing fine. It made him recall an old joke about fighting a legendary dragon. You need its armor to win. But you cannot get the armor without winning. He shrugged and climbed outside into the morning air. The world tree had grown larger overnight, glowing with soft emerald lights. Before bed, he had commanded the tree to focus its energy on creating little fairies. All night, the magical moon well had been producing 4 points of energy every single hour. Meanwhile, his active worker fairies had gathered resources, bringing the count to 37 out of 100 during the beta. Even a perfect start only yielded 6 polar workers by day 2. The difference was, it really was not fair. Polar people worked 8 hours, but fairies pulled 24 straight through without a single complaint. He could feel their faint thoughts drifting from the swarm, just simple, bright emotions about being lucky to stay by the great mother tree. The box held 628 wood, more than enough, so he ordered the world tree to stop churning out fairies. Population had to be planned out. Resource speed was great, but combat power mattered too. Pure farming would not survive this environment. If a neighbor hoards grain, he hoards weapons. His neighbor becomes his granary. farming would continue, but weapons were essential. And right on cue, his weapon arrived. An elf fruit on the world tree ripened and dropped to the snowy ground. A crack opened inside the fruit and a figure emerged. The system announced his territory had naturally given birth to a brand new resident. Population 42 out of 100, 5 slots filled, and he was thrilled. Fairies and polar people only took 1 slot each, but normal template. Combat units took 2, an elite grade unit. Now he possessed some truly serious firepower. A clear, cold voice rang out from the woman kneeling before him, announcing herself as Aisha Silverwing, reporting for duty. His will was where her sword would point. She wore light armor with a short sword at her waist, plus a bow slung across her back as she knelt on the icy ground. He welcomed her to his territory and gently raised his hands to signal her to stand. What a beautiful ice queen! Silver hair cascaded down her shoulders, with those characteristic pointed ears tucked neatly into her hair, but stunning as she was still a combat unit. He quickly checked her panel. Elf Ranger Aisha Silverwing, a Silver Moon Elite. Template, excellent aptitude level 5, 100 loyalty, 15 strength, and 22 agility. 12 constitution, 14 spirit, 360 health, and her talent, Moon's Blessing. Boosting all attributes by 20% under moonlight. Her active skills were Wind Step, costing 20 mana to summon a protective wind, pushing her speed to the absolute limit with near immunity to physical damage. She also had Charge Shot, spending mana to empower attacks by 20% per second, charging up to 5 seconds at 10 mana per second. Absolutely insane stats. As an elite, she had high attributes and 2 great skills. He had absolutely no doubt this female ranger could easily defeat 10 of him. How lucky she was his subordinate, ready to walk straight through fire for him with 100 loyalty, even in the beta. He had never seen a follower with stats over 90. It made sense though, since elves were born from the world tree, whose status among them was supreme, even higher than their gods. As the master of that tree, he was highly revered. He asked Aisha to handle some critical reconnaissance around the territory. She accepted with great honor and immediately turned to set off. But he called her back, pulling out the Frostwolf cavalry recruitment scroll, feeling confident that with Aisha by his side as a powerful safeguard, he no longer needed to hesitate about what to do next. He had decided earlier that if today's summon was strong enough, he would risk using the cavalry scroll for a mutation. Before she arrived, he was highly conflicted since the talent's modified positive mutations still had highly unpredictable effects. The scroll might change completely, and even if it did not, he might not get to use it today. A mutation into something too strong meant he could not. He could control it. Relying on Aisha, he takes the gamble. The system announces his Frostwolf cavalry scroll undergoes a positive mutation, transforming right before him into a werewolf recruitment scroll. Today's positive mutation limit is 0, but his unstable mutations hit 2. He almost quietly gasps. Was this actually his talent's final ripple? 3 attempts daily is a massive upgrade, even if the 2 extra rolls are random. He instantly starts planning how to use them, maybe dump them into worthless trash and let raw numbers create miracles, calming his racing thoughts. He inspects the scroll, a blue-tier recruit item, outstanding. 1 level 3 elite werewolf warrior, absolutely perfect. Initial loyalty sits at 45 based on his strength, with a warning that anyone below 60 loyalty might rebel and ignore commands. Plus, these beasts require 5 population and eat 10 food daily. He rubs his chin, realizing his luck is pretty decent. A stronger scroll is not always better. Practicality matters most, and a level 3 elite should be easily managed by Aisha. No hesitation, he triggers the recruitment immediately. The scroll floats from his hand, hanging in midair before dissolving into a blue glow. Inside the light, a massive figure at least 2 meters tall begins to take shape. Brutally built, the light fades to reveal a wolf-headed, human-bodied creature standing in the snow. He wears only a rough hide draped over his waist, his fierce green eyes lock onto the Lord, sharp claws slowly scraping together right in front of his chest. The beast growls, demanding the Lord beat him or show some real courage, calling him a weak human, questioning if this was who wanted his absolute allegiance. And watch this, before the Lord can even gesture, Aisha is already moving. Her short sword unsheathes, a streak of silver light that pierces his chest in one clean blow. Another sudden gust of wind strikes, and a sweeping kick knocks him off balance, sending him crashing backward. She steps up, planting her boot heavily on his chest. Bending her knee, she leans forward and tells him in a quiet, unhurried tone that showing disrespect to the Lord only brings a minor punishment. Disobeying next time means certain death. She pulls back her leg, quietly bowing. She says nothing more. He is thrilled. Aisha is strong, swift, and clean in action. Best of all, she is intensely loyal. This werewolf is no loss either. He had roared and acted wild, but beastmen naturally worship the strong. It is just their brutal culture, dealing with such straightforward subordinates. The path is easy, just beat them into submission. The beast scrambles up from the snow, yanking the short sword out of his own chest, throwing it on the ground. He bows respectfully, introducing himself as Fenrir Claw, ready to serve. The Lord orders Fenrir to pick the weapon up and wipe it clean. He briefly considers ordering him to lick it clean, but decides against it out of respect for Aisha. Fenrir bends down, grabs the sword, rubs it clean in the cold snow, and kneels on one knee to offer it back. He does not take it immediately. As the system starts chiming in his ear, the werewolf Fenrir has been thoroughly cowed by a powerhouse under his command. Loyalty rises by 10, hitting 55. Another prompt flashes. Thanks to his firm response, the beast's loyalty climbs even higher. 15 to 70. In 10 seconds, 6 words, and the unruly werewolf had submitted. Complete loyalty. Finding the right method made it surprisingly easy. He took the short sword and handed it to Aisha, praising her swift movements. She thanked him, sheathing the weapon. He turned away and stared back at Fenrir. The werewolf's chest wound was already healing fast, showing his true potential. His talent was active. This was Fenrir Broken Claw, an elite werewolf. Stats: he had level 3 aptitude, 70 loyalty, and 12 strength. Agility 15, Constitution 17, Spirit 8, 510 health and mana 160. His passive regeneration was incredible, plus he could summon 2 snowfield wolves to fight for him daily, keeping a permanent cap of 2 without occupying any of the territory's population limit. Then there was wolf transformation, which activated his inner beast, boosting all attributes by 50% and granting him critical strike capabilities. It lasted 30 minutes once daily. That critical strike, absolute chaos. It gave a high chance to trigger a massive damage boost. Honestly, the werewolf was wild, but these elite units truly had crazy potential. Looking closely at those skills, our main character decided to change his plan. The werewolf was actually a much better fit for scouting than Aisha. He ordered Fenrir to summon his companions and patrol the surrounding territory. While Aisha stayed close to guard him, both accepted the task immediately. Fenrir threw his head back, howled, and 2 massive snowfield wolves appeared out of thin air. Their stats matched yesterday's beast. He stepped forward and stroked the wolf's fur. It felt smooth as silk. Smiling as a rather dark thought crossed his mind. Would killing his own summons drop experience and item loot? A bad thought, but he quickly dismissed it. Fenrir calmed the startled wolves and asked permission to depart. The Lord told them not to rush, asking Aisha to cook up some breakfast so everyone could eat. He asked if they minded eating snowfield wolf meat. Both of them looked quite confused. Aisha had no issues, and Fenrir desperately wanted meat. Our main character stroked his chin, realizing different worlds had different cultures. Elves in this world clearly did not just survive on fruit. Feeding Fenrir was a smart play. he understood the classic rule of offering a carrot after the stick, but this food was just the start. Get ready to watch a miracle, because it was time to completely blow the werewolf's mind. He activated his Unstable Mutation, targeting a basic stone axe. The system chimed. The random mutation was a success. Positive mutation count was 0. Unstable mutation count stood at 1. He watched the stone axe vanish right out of his hand. In its place, a massive 3-meter-tall machine materialized with a cyberpunk style. It had 2 giant mechanical arms, a cutting blade, and a grabber. Underneath were heavy snow tracks. It was a beast built for logging. This was the Goblin Wood Chipper Model T130, excellent quality. Anyone who could drive this thing would be a harvesting machine. That means 100 wood units per hour, peak durability. An unknown energy source gave 100 units hourly. His ferries made only 50. Daily, leaving him utterly speechless. He chose his axe because, with hardworking ferries, his territory would never run dry. But now, the storage box was literally overflowing. Nearby, Fenrir stared in absolute shock, his eyes nearly popping out. Suddenly, the system announced his miraculous feat had stunned him. The Wolfman's loyalty immediately shot up by 10, reaching 80, dropping onto the snow. He begged forgiveness for his earlier arrogance, praising his master's power as deep and unfathomable as the ocean. Finally, he understood why that powerful female elf, despite her incredible strength, submitted so easily to a seemingly weak human. His entire worldview had shattered. Nearby, Aisha quietly boiled wolf meat by the fire, taking everything in. She was calmer than Fenrir, but quiet shock still lingered in her eyes. The world tree never birthed empty vessels. It drew wandering soul fragments into specific hosts, shaping them into elves with complete minds and memories. And yet, what he had just done completely transcended her entire reality. He ignored both subordinates. Deciding to push his luck further, he triggered an unstable mutation. His target was the exquisite hand crossbow. With Aisha and Fenrir around, this weapon was practically useless. It had to change. Suddenly, the system reported a random mutation into a Barrett sniper rifle. His daily positive mutation count hit 0. And his unstable count hit 0 too. As the bright light faded, a 1.5-meter-long pitch-black sniper rifle lay in his hands. Talk about a jackpot. It was exactly what he had envisioned. When his stone axe became a logging machine, he was merely surprised. This was a magic world where fantasy made sense. But this modern rifle was totally off. He wondered if he had truly transmigrated at all, or if his talent was summoning items from Blue Star. Or did sniper rifles already exist in this fantasy realm? If so, who built them? A world where technology and high magic existed side by side. There were far too many questions and 0 answers. He checked his system panel for clues. Barrett sniper rifle, a purple-grade transcendent weapon. Attack power was 333 to 444. Interval 2 seconds. An alchemical weapon that gained powerful extra effects from special accessories. It currently held one of 3 accessories, featuring Alf's enchanted magazine, holding 6 rounds and generating 1 bullet every 4 hours, at full capacity. Each bullet would receive powerful magic enchantments in a set sequence. Frost 50%, 30 armor penetration, 10 magic break, 6 holy light, 3 blessing, and a 1% instant death chance. It was labeled a relic from an unknown shattered era. Chills, guys. This world was definitely not as simple as he had imagined. After a long silence, he snapped back to reality. These deep mysteries were far beyond him. The immediate priority was surviving, growing stronger, and earning the right to explore. Aisha walked over gracefully, carrying a steaming stone pot. Dinner was ready, though the pot was simply too small to cook more meat. He told Fenrir to eat, then ordered him to immediately scout within a 3-kilometer radius to map the area. The loyal scout finished quickly. Heading off with his 2 snow wolves, the young leader returned to the warmth of the fire. Planning his next round of construction, his territory was currently extremely imbalanced, wood overflowing while stone was scarce. They desperately needed a quarry. They could barely mine stone properly. Even then, their efficiency was pretty poor. He decided to build a Pullman hut and recruit some polar people next. With 2 big eaters already, a few more mouths wouldn't hurt his supply. His reserve held 12 stone, just barely enough, so he placed the hut. Construction would take 8 minutes. Breakfast wasn't even ready yet. So he hopped inside the cockpit of his massive new toy, because why not? The goblin tech was simple. Within a few tries, he was already an expert. He sighed with relief, glad the polar people wouldn't struggle to operate it either. Aisha called out that breakfast was ready, and a few minutes later, both of them had eaten their fill as the Pullman hut finished building. Recruiting them required food rather than natural energy, so 2 units of wolf meat vanished from his pack, and 4 polar people walked out. They were short and stout, faces buried in fur, wearing thick winter coats. Being built for the cold, they surprisingly brought their own gear, each carrying a stone axe and an iron pickaxe. They were noisy from the start, sniffing the meat and chattering, telling each other to keep quiet so he wouldn't mistake them for hungry ghosts and kick them right out. Then they lost their minds over the giant tree, wondering if the elf standing before them was even real. His head began to throb immediately. He ordered them to quiet down first, then scan the 4 new recruits. Promising them plenty of meat got them cheering, eager to serve their lord. He pointed to the strongest one and appointed him as their captain, naming him Gil, with the others to follow as G, Sam, and Gaw. Their panels showed they were all level 1 with stats around 5. Since their original names were way too complicated, he just numbered them instead. The management panel now showed the new captain with a special badge. As the territory expanded, there would be too many residents to micromanage. Giving direct orders to every single worker would drive him absolutely crazy. With high loyalty, he could delegate the work boldly and rest easy. For today, he ordered Gil to move the stones into the storage box. The others immediately started whining for meat, complaining about their empty stomachs. The delicious scent of wolf meat was already floating through the air. He rubbed his forehead, realizing they weren't as simple as they looked. Their cost-effectiveness was nothing compared to the efficiency of the little fairies. He ordered them to get to work, promising dinner only after the sun went down. An hour later, sitting by the fire, he smelled something incredibly delicious. But those weak stats were deceiving, as they required absolutely no warming up. They were built for the extreme cold, ignoring the freezing weather entirely. Within an hour, the 4 kept working nonstop, filling the box. They gathered 42 stones, immediately using 10 to build the quarry. Once the quarry was built, carrying stones back and forth would stop. Efficiency was about to skyrocket after an hour of intense work. The workers gathered around the fire to rest. He wondered how to spend the 42 stones when Fenrir returned, transformed as a giant white wolf. Earlier, the system had warned him that Fenrir was facing a massive threat. He ignored the threat, believing danger was expected during the Nava stage. But within a mere 3 kilometers, a highly dangerous enemy had already appeared inside the zone. This creature forced the loyal werewolf to use his ultimate move and run away. Dashing wildly in giant wolf form, he finally reached the camp. Reverting back to his wolf-headed hybrid state, the injured beast dropped weakly onto one knee. His entire body was covered in severe wounds, his right arm clearly broken. 30 minutes had passed since the ambush, but even with his advanced self-healing, only his chest wound had successfully closed, leaving his new and brutal injuries still incredibly fresh. The young lord asked grimly what happened, prompting the scout to report. About 2 kilometers northwest of the territory, he had discovered a hidden and highly valuable mine. He pulled a strange black object from his leather pouch to show. His severe wounds were caused by a massive cat that could turn completely invisible. Without that cheap ambush, the proud wolf would never have lost. His voice rose with intense frustration as he detailed the unfair, invisible strike he had suffered. The young lord asked if he was sure it was not dark. Fenrir respectfully replied that the werewolf clan possessed flawless and highly effective night vision. He would never have wandered into the cave so carelessly. The young lord nodded, surprised to face a beast with such a wild ability so early. Talk about a lucky break, good thing his wolf took the hit instead. The lord then asked if Fenrir had managed to land a counterattack. Fenrir admitted his injuries were too severe, and without his wolf form's innate healing, he never would have survived after the tiger decided to stop pursuing. Hearing the scout's report, the lord asked how much time he needed to fully recover. Fenrir replied that without direct help, he would need half a day. The young lord immediately ordered Aisha to fetch a bowl of the territory's rare moonspring water. Fenrir was confused, knowing about the well but not its hidden magic. He briefly wondered if his master was simply thirsty after a long and hard day. Aisha returned with the glowing wooden bowl, which the lord handed over. Though he was not thirsty, his incredibly high loyalty drove him to drink without hesitation. He downed the magical liquid in one quick swallow, trusting him completely. And just like that, the miracle water does its work. His eyes lit up. The lord ordered him to lead the way back, with Aisha joining. His wolf hesitated, warning that the invisible predator was far too risky for their young master. But he waved the concerns aside, fully confident in their group's strength. After Barrett's recent mutation, his own personal combat power was no longer lagging behind theirs. This invisible beast was likely just guarding a highly valuable resource node. The black object was rich iron ore, proving an incredibly valuable underground iron mine existed. He was determined to claim it. Soon, they reached the dark cave. Fenrir whispered that the danger lay just ahead, still visibly shaken by the predator. His wolf transformation was on cooldown, but Aisha's archery would keep them safe. The young lord ordered Fenrir to enter the deep darkness first, and he obediently agreed. Leaping into the pitch-black opening, the beast vanished from their sight. Within minutes, a deafening tiger's roar echoed out, signaling they had officially engaged the beast. With the ambush threat cleared, the lord led Aisha down into the dark. Moving 100 meters inside, they finally spotted the beast covered in pure white fur. Black stripes bleed across its fur as a pair of ice-blue eyes radiate pure killing intent. An excellent aptitude, Strength 29, Agility 25, Constitution 21, and Spirit 23. Its shadow talent grants complete invisibility until it attacks or takes a hit. Its skills are Tiger Pounce and Intimidate, a truly nasty combination. That roar unleashes a spiritual shockwave to suppress anyone nearby. This elite monster is level 8, making him incredibly glad he brought backup. Without Aisha and Fenrir in his full wolf form, they stood no chance. Within 12 seconds, Fenrir is already pushed to his absolute limit. Overwhelmed and losing ground, the young man refuses to wait any longer. He mounts the Barrett rifle, takes careful aim, and pulls the trigger. A deafening bang echoes as blood erupts from the tiger's front paw. The massive impact shatters its balance, letting Fenrir shred its flank. But the beast recovers instantly, whipping Fenrir away with its powerful tail. It locks eyes on our lade, crossing 100 meters in a heartbeat. He can literally smell its foul breath when Aisha suddenly fires an arrow. Her fully charged shot buries itself deep inside the monster's chest. Stopped cold, blood soaks its belly as it shakes off Fenrir and rushes him. It sensed absolute, fatal danger, but the threat wasn't just his Barrett rifle. After 4 seconds of holding his breath, he fires a second round. The heavy bullet tears clean through the back of the tiger's skull. A flawless headshot, the struggling beast loses its life instantly and collapses. System alert, he successfully killed the shadow tiger. Gaining 240 experience points and immediately leveling up to level 2. First to defeat an elite beast, he earns a rare blueprint. along with an item called Undying Tinder. Talk about a mysterious drop. He opens his panel to inspect it. The name is Immortal Tinder, a special ungradable item that creates an eternally burning bonfire. This will allow him to establish a second base of operations, and it keeps the base burning eternally through the brutal winter freeze. He puts it away for now. Sub-territories are still a distant goal. Such things are only useful after the main base is fully upgraded. Next, he opens the blueprint, which has already determined its form. It turns out to be a green nursery blueprint. Perfect. Using this will unlock a dedicated 18 square meter farming facility. It requires 100 wood, 80 stone, 5 iron, and 2 fire crystals, plus a single wood crystal. At this, his eyes light up. His territory finally has the foundation to start farming. Because hunting is way too unstable, eat today, starve tomorrow. When the population reaches thousands, wild meat simply won't cut it. He has plenty of basic resources, but elemental crystals are tricky. Getting those crystals will take effort, but there is absolutely no rush. But as the thought takes root, a sneaky plan forms in his mind. Mutate the Immortal Tinder or the nursery. Decisions. Fenrir, still dizzy from the tiger's heavy blows, limps over to him. The wolf stares at the dead beast, completely stunned by the outcome. His entire view of our hero's power was completely shattered. He realized something else. The elf was incredibly skilled. Aisha eagerly stepped forward, asking for a closer look. She wanted to examine the weapon that fired like lightning. He remembered her mastery of archery and her charged shot. His eyes lit up. Could that skill apply to firearms? He handed over the rifle and showed her the ropes. She eagerly asked to try a shot. He stroked his chin thoughtfully. 2 shots were already gone, leaving only 4 precious bullets. With 6 hours of daylight remaining, he let her shoot. He warned her never to point it at him, eagerly waiting to watch. If her archery skills transferred to firearms, her power would skyrocket. He crouched, time to harvest the shadow tiger. This blue beast was 2 tiers above yesterday's wolf. He eagerly awaited the drops. Suddenly, a white light flashed. The light faded, leaving several blue items on the ground. Though the system took a huge cut, surprises remained. First was 3 elite blue-grade shadow tiger eggs. The description noted that failing to hatch meant good eating. He stared in disbelief at the giant tiger eggs. He muttered about egg-laying tigers before waving his hand to store them. Hatching them was too complex, so eating them seemed far simpler. With elves and wolves around, raising tigers was unnecessary. Next were the classic drops: meat, hide, and teeth. He got over 100 caddies of excellent meat. A master chef could cook this into magical dishes. Eating it raw also worked, boosting permanent cold resistance. The icy defense was permanent but would not stack. Tons of prime meat. The legends were absolutely true. Tiger meat provided the ultimate shield against freezing temperatures. Honestly, in a frozen world like this, warmth is king. He had only been out 30 minutes and almost froze. Losing his heat buff made this resistance incredibly crucial. Out here, time was everything. Cold resistance meant survival. More resistance meant longer, highly efficient gathering trips. This would give him a massive, completely unbeatable lead over freezing lords. Healing water paired with cold-resistant meat was a godsend. The other local lords in his region were about to get extremely lucky. He planned to sell these items, but he would wait a bit first. He refused to exploit them, but he was no charity case. Next, he checked the 2 blue-grade shadow tiger skins. They had some obvious holes, but they were still easily fixable. A master tailor could easily sew them into some incredible clothing. Or he could sell them directly as luxury rugs to wealthy city lords. City lords, that meant this frozen world actually had thriving native civilizations. He lost himself in the description for a moment, then quickly dismissed it. He would never actively contact native forces capable of building entire cities. Great opportunities carried immense risk. No need. He picked up the final item, a deep red Shadow Tiger Essence Blood, a purple transcendent item, the source of the Shadow Tiger's power, offering a chance to gain its abilities after consumption. A friendly system note warned him to consider his physical strength before consuming it. Paying close attention to the tiger's lineage, this was his second transcendent item, but after reading the note, he knew this one was not meant for him. Even after his earlier level 2 boost, his physical strength had only barely climbed to 5. He had no intention of keeping this essence blood as a family heirloom, or waiting to watch it mutate. That was not his style. Hoarding would not make it multiply, especially since better things would appear later. Giving rare items to his subordinates worked just as well, since he prioritized immediate combat power. Mutation ignored base attributes anyway. He told Fenrir he had rendered great service by clearing out the hidden dangers threatening the territory and bestowed the essence blood upon him. He tossed the bottle over and Fenrir scrambled to catch it in a panic, stammering that it was far too precious and that he had no way to repay him. He'd only joined a day ago. Talk about loyalty. The system reported his loyalty jumping by another 10 to 90 due to this immense trust. He told him that becoming stronger was the best repayment, waving off the rest. Fenrir swore to absorb the power and inherit the Shadow Tiger's strength, gripping the bottle with fanatical intensity. He advised him to use it only after they returned to the territory at night, where he would be safe, quiet, and undisturbed during the long digestion process. He then glanced over at Aisha, still quietly fiddling with the Barrett, and wondered why her behavior already seemed more devoted than a maxed-out follower. Sudden gunfire interrupted his thoughts. Aisha whispered with quiet excitement that her unique skill could complement this weapon. He told her then it was hers from now on and explained the rifle's full details to her, including the bullet generation rate and the enchanted magazine. As a native, she could not read item stats directly. She murmured questions about the infinite bullets, special effects, and upgrade modules to be added later, her usually calm face softening with a slight change. She asked if she could name the weapon herself, and he told her to do as she wished. She looked at the rifle and said the continuously self-generating bullets felt like Heaven's Grace, so let it be named Heaven's Grace, a truly fitting name, he told her. But in her heart, Aisha quietly added that he was absolutely everything to her, her personal heaven, and this weapon was a gift from heaven. After 30 minutes in the mine, the system reported the abandoned iron mine fully occupied. As the first survivor to claim a resource point in this area, he had received an excellent treasure chest. The reward for first place was incredibly generous, a solid first step. The cold was getting too hard to bear, so he did not open the chest yet, just wrapping up mine business. This small iron mine had a maximum reserve of 20,000 units, with a daily regeneration of 100 and a buildable factory for personnel. Extraction. Reading the info, he was deeply puzzled. The polar people had high cold resistance but still could not mine here forever. Was this resource node just for display? Being 2 kilometers from his territory, how many bonfire levels would he need to? How could he cover it? Then he remembered that capturing a point in the closed beta automatically generated a campfire. At his command, the group spread out, and a few minutes later, Fenrir found a cold campfire at the mine center. Lightable with wood but non-upgradable, only covering the resource point itself. He tossed in wood, igniting the flames, peeling off his soaking sneakers. He let the fire bring his frozen red feet back to life. He told Fenrir to head back and bring 2 polar people to mine. Many buildings needed iron. Basking in the fire's warmth, he checked his rewards and opened the chest as the system announced the contents: 1 ice crystal fruit tree, 1 miniature thermostatic box, and 1 medical kit. The green light inside was The sapling, an excellent grade ice crystal fruit tree, transplantable into his territory, it had low requirements, grew incredibly fast, and offered a high yield he definitely needed to prioritize his nursery now. Fast-growing food could ease his massive food pressure. Next was the common tier white thermostatic box. Measuring 0.3 meters, it maintained internal temperatures at 0 to 5 degrees Celsius, perfect for preserving seeds or hatching eggs. Though the system note hinted at a miraculous effect if he combined it with a shrinking lamp. Intrigued, he immediately pulled out a shadow tiger egg, measured its size, and successfully tucked it inside. The green indicator light turned on once the box closed, making him change his mind, raising normal tigers in it. Magical world was pretty boring, but a white shadow tiger. But get this, a shadow tiger that turns invisible. He absolutely had to raise it. Glowed white and blue, clearly the best prize despite its simple name. This excellent tier kit contained basic tools, including 3 bandages, 3 adrenaline injectors, and 1 first aid potion, along with a special note. He could pull 3 rolls of bandages daily. This style felt suspiciously similar to Barrett, some relic from a shattered era. The bandages themselves were less impressive, common tier items that simply stopped bleeding and sped up recovery. With 5 uses per roll, though overuse yielded diminishing returns. For most lords, this constant supply of medical resources was invaluable. It turned severe wounds minor and kept dying targets alive, saving roughly 15 lives daily, but for him it was useless. Moonspring water already far outclassed bandages. The green tier adrenaline injector, however, looked far more interesting. On use, it pushed the user into an excited state, boosting movement, attack, and cast speed by 20% for 30 seconds, with a note urging him to just go for it and trust the rush. Meanwhile, the first aid potion was the ultimate prize. This blue tier item dispelled most negative statuses and restored 50% maximum health, a literal second life. He tucked it carefully into his pack, praying it would collect dust and never be needed. But if he did have to use it, he muttered a small prayer, please let it not be on him. Feeling restless, he took Aisha to explore the mine's corners, searching for any overlooked spoils. The roaring fire illuminated the space, and they managed to find scattered iron ores in the dark corners, 18 units in total. Although he already controlled the mine, every free unit he salvaged personally saved an hour of labor for his people. Once he had thoroughly scoured every corner, Fenrir arrived with the 2 polar people. He instructed. He ordered them to build a mining camp here and mine with all their might. He instructed Fenrir to stay, protect the workers, and bring them back to the territory for dinner before nightfall, then took Aisha home. While he was away, his territory had quietly accumulated wood and stone. It was time for a massive wave of construction. The records read 728 wood, 58 stone, 18 iron ore, and some tiger meat. With surplus food, he could recruit more residents. The market would go up and the bonfire would upgrade, adding a blacksmith, a tailor, and an ore processing plant. Standing in front of the Pullman hut, he offered 2 wolf meat and 4 more polar people stepped out. He sent 2 to gather stone and 2 to construct basic buildings. He assigned Aisha to Fenrir's exploration team since his 2 snowfield wolves had died heroically. Then he noticed he was the only idle person in camp. He told himself overall coordination also consumed energy and let it pass. Scrolling the chat, he saw 36 hours had passed since the global transmigration, and most people talking had accepted this new world. Since most lords were busy, the world channel was finally readable. Wix bragged about stumbling upon a naive indigenous village where showing off his inventory backpack earned him both slaves and food. Wang. We gushed about walking only 100 meters before finding a treasure chest. Sadig. Shio called Wang Wei lucky, complaining that his own chest had been guarded by a powerful creature. The regional channel dumped an avalanche of ads, faction recruiting, and endless showing off. Blue Star Unity posted alerts about premium rabbit meat, while a former Fortune 500 executive tried selling a guaranteed polar people management strategy for 3 wood or stone, with replies arguing about who should pay first. Others begged for cotton clothes. Badly wounded Lord pleaded for healing items, only for some to snap back that nobody would share because they could not guarantee they would not be wounded next. The injured man insisted he only wanted to heal and keep hunting. He realized he had severely underestimated the value of recovery items. This world digitized survival, but forgot to digitize the survivors. People still bled and broke, so he changed his mind, called 2 polar people over to build the market, and decided to construct it first. He was too soft-hearted to watch people suffer, but more importantly, the lords reckless enough to fight wild monsters and get hurt were the true pioneers of this world. The kind he would one day need working under him. He had to provide support. With 3 polar people working on it, the market went up fast, and his bonfire upgraded at the same time. Post-upgrade, the bonfire's heating capacity rose. The constant temperature buff lasted much longer, but the most crucial change was the sheer expansion of its range. A level 3 bonfire was the limit for a tier 1 territory covering a 40-meter radius. 40 meters sounded modest until that radius added up to 5,000 square meters, close to a football field. With his territory's population limit of 50, that meant 100 square meters per resident. He wondered if more space would let him build more moon wells, since his carried a nice bonus, and the more the better. Checking the ambient temperature, around 10 below near the fire compared to minus 30 or 40 outside. A strange warmth spread through him. He assigned the 3 polar people who just finished to gather more stone and then opened the market. Quite a few items were basic resources dominated the listings, mostly just wood and stone trading hands, nothing special. No rare materials or consumables, yet completed deals showed a trend. Blueprints were moving incredibly fast, with listings vanishing within seconds of appearing. Gang muttered to himself that players with blueprints should hide them and wait. Suddenly, a fresh blueprint popped up right at the very top of the market. It was a green-grade blueprint for a light wound healing potion. The recipe required 1 moonlight grass, some purified water, and wood. It promised to soothe pain and heal minor injuries on the spot. The seller demanded 2,000 wood or stone, welcoming direct messages for trades. Gang winced at the outrageous price for a simple recipe. He had never even heard of moonlight grass, making the purchase useless. Yet the moment he thought that, the item sold instantly to a buyer. The buyer was Han Zhang, and Gang silently wished the poor guy luck. He scanned the market again, feeling fully confident in his own product. His moonspring water would easily dominate the competition here. Overnight, his wells had accumulated 280 milliliters. The liquid shimmered with a beautiful, shallow, silver-gray glow. Gang scooped most of it into a wooden bowl, preparing to list it on the market. He decided against dumping everything at once, knowing a small sip could save a life. He decided to divide the moonspring water into tiny, 20-milliliter portions. This gave him 12 units, each priced at 200 wood or 100 stone. He also accepted meat or flame crystals, welcoming private messages for rare items. His deliberate pricing strategy was designed to target only the truly desperate. If it was too expensive, normal lords could never afford it. Emptying their pockets completely would just destroy his future customer base. But pricing it too cheap would only invite greedy scalpers to ruin things. He listed 5 units to start, watching the market closely. Meanwhile, in a well-developed territory nearby, Han Zhang was riding high. He had just secured that healing recipe, feeling like a true protagonist. An abandoned logging camp near his spawn had gifted him 3 wood chippers. With infinite wood, he easily killed his first monster and built a market. Now, with a healing recipe in hand, he was ready to dominate. Mass-producing these potions would allow him to completely control the market. He quickly searched and bought 5 moonlight grass without even haggling. Within moments, he held 5 fresh bottles of healing potion in his hands. He listed them for 300 basic resources, then opened regional chat. He hyped up the new, cheap healing items waiting on the market. But suspicious players immediately asked why he was not buying them himself. They openly accused him of desperately praising his own cheap wares. Soon someone confirmed the purchase, calling the price and healing effects awesome. Another message tagged Gang, begging him to list even more of his water. Hanjong closed the chat happily, convinced that his potions sold themselves. He wondered if his price was actually too low as he reopened the market. Expecting to collect his funds, he was baffled to find none of his potions had sold. He reasoned that buyers were lying about stock just to hoard them for themselves. He returned to the chat and watched another lord screaming that just won. Sip restored them to full health. He even challenged a snowfield wolf to a duel. They tagged him again, begging him to keep listing, while complaining about a greedy profiteer selling worse healing items at a higher price. Then someone messaged him politely. Elsewhere, Han Yung belatedly realized he had misunderstood. A new competitor had appeared, wanting a price war with him. He wanted to see what our hero could compete with. Soon, he looked at Moonring water sold for 200 wood and cursed him for being insane. Of course, he refused to admit defeat. Knowing your enemy is key to victory, so he had to scout the enemy first. He clicked on the Moonring water listing our hero put at the top as an ad for 99,000 wood and messaged him asking if he still had Moonspring water left, claiming others were buying too fast and offered to pay 300 wood. Silence, no response. He gritted his teeth, deciding that nothing ventured meant nothing gained, and sent over a rare blueprint instead, shortly after those 5 portions were listed. System notifications started rolling in. His consigned Moonspring water had sold, earning him 198 stone. 5 portions cleared in under 3 minutes. 3 buyers paid in wood, 2 in stone. Meanwhile, his private inbox exploded with 99 unread messages. He opened some, but they were just meaningless junk from freeloaders and show-offs. Thankfully, he had a solution. He quickly configured a keyword filter so only messages offering rare materials or blueprints came through. The remaining 7 portions of Moonspring water could wait, and he would choose later in the evening. Armed with plenty of stone, he started large-scale construction. A tailor shop, blacksmith shop, and kitchen. Useful or not, he built them all. The sewing shop completion ping made him emotional. He could finally stop walking around in soggy sneakers. He crafted 2 pairs of boots from tiger hide. To his surprise, they actually had stats. It was an excellent blue grade tiger hide. These green excellent boots granted basic agility +1, plus a special silent running effect, a great pair of warm, non-slip boots that the tailor's amateur skills had failed to fully unlock. He wore them instantly, feeling warmth in his feet and a light sensation through his body. The other pair was identical, so he called Aisha back from exploring to put them on, matching her light armor. Soon, the blacksmith shop and kitchen finished under the Polar Builder's hammers. A system ping told him an important message had landed, which thrilled him. With his alerts set, this meant someone sent him details about blue-grade items or rare elemental crystals. It was Han Yung offering an elemental arrow tower blueprint, willing to take a loss to trade it for all of his remaining Moonspring water. He opened the blueprint. Elemental arrow tower blueprint, blue excellent grade. Once used, it constructs an range 200 meters, attack 99 to 199, durability 2000. The elemental strike adds 50% damage when consuming an elemental crystal, lasting 50 hits per crystal. It spans 15 square meters, requiring 200 wood, 80 stone, 5 iron, and 8 primary elemental crystals. A powerful defense building, but extremely expensive and likely needing a continuous crystal supply to unleash its maximum power. he replied. That the item was good, but the timing was off. What use was a defensive tower during the novice protection period? Han Jiang was clearly monitoring the chat. His reply came back instantly, insisting he could take the initiative with 200 meters of range. He could lure wild monsters near the tower, but he cut him off, offering 5 portions of Moonspring water for the trade. Han Jiang scoffed, saying the offer was not sincere, and signed off. Without looking back, he simply shrugged. No problem. The building was impractical right now, and he did not need it anyway. Suddenly, another message landed from a lord holding primary fire elemental crystals, the hard currency of magic buildings. Offering a 1-to-1 trade, he countered with 2-to-1, taking them all. The market had no set pricing system for special resources yet, so these trades were highly casual. He told the seller to list 2 units of Moonspring water for 4 primary fire elemental crystals. The guy was straightforward, closing the deal instantly, putting 4 fire elemental crystals into his pack. He needed only 1 more primary wood elemental crystal to build the nursery. That last piece was harder to find. These elemental crystals were rare like iron ore, requiring mining, and the only mine he found was guarded by a high-level elite. Crystal veins were rarer than mines with much stronger guardians. Other lords could not get crystals through mining at this early stage. They relied entirely on luck from chests or rewards. Still, with nearly 10,000 lords in this world, some would. Crystals were out there. He quickly traded 1 Moonspring water for 2 crystals secured. He summoned a polar worker to construct the nursery. Right near the world tree, on the empty ground beside the sapling, the nursery took shape, covering 18 square meters. The snow receded and the topsoil glowed faintly green. As he stepped inside, a wave of cozy warmth rolled over him. The temperature lingering right around 0 degrees. The greenhouse effect was working. The system screen showed basic plant survival, and harvest rates were up 20% with a tiny chance of mutation. That wood crystal made it a natural type build, showing his territory traits were hard at work. Honestly, this left him with pretty mixed feelings. He originally wanted it for ice crystal fruit trees, which normally grow in freezing cold. Was a warm nursery actually suitable for them? Still, leaving the greenhouse empty would be pointless. Let's be real, who actually thinks 0 degrees is warm? But with a natural world tree around, surely a common plant would not die. He took out an ice crystal sapling, pushed the soft soil aside, and planted it. The rest was up to time, and by tomorrow morning he would know its fate. Then, unexpectedly, the newly planted sapling began growing rapidly, as if it had been pumped with growth hormones. The stunted plant shot straight up to his chest, the status now red mature, yielding 12 ice crystal fruits daily, boosted by both territory characteristics and the nursery effect. A massive 300% growth rate is insane. Without the world tree, it would only bear 3 fruits every 3 days. Not impressive at all. Just as he expected, 6 young fruits were already growing on the branches. Perhaps he would taste one by dinner. Just then, Aisha returned to camp. Her face grew serious as she delivered the report. They were being watched. With a quick nod from him, she explained she found suspicious figures outside the border. They wore gray robes and looked human. Luckily, she knocked them out cold. They were dumped on the west side. When asked about their origins, she shrugged. They just wore gray robes and looked human like him, so he told her to lead the way. He even called the polar folk to back them up. 2 gray-robed figures lay in the snow. They were on the west side, and the system quickly popped up with their identities. Undead believer, human undead, normal template but boasting excellent talent. At level 4, his eyes narrowed. He recognized these undead believers. Back in the closed beta, they served as the brutal first act final boss. He muttered to himself. He was still in the novice protection period, so why target him? These guys could control the dead, and that raised some terrifying questions. The thought of an endless tide swarming his territory when protection ended made him shudder. Talk about a nightmare, he cursed, incredibly glad he caught this threat early on. Otherwise, he would die clueless. He ordered the polar folk to drag them inside. They brought them inside the territory, and he told Aisha to make them talk. They had to know their plans. A splash of boiling hot water woke the prisoners up fast. Before Aisha could even start interrogating, the two fanatics began chanting on their own. They ranted about the disgusting aura of life and declared all elves must be wiped out. They screamed that the tide of death would flatten everything in its path. Every error would be corrected, boasting that only death itself was truly eternal. Totally blind to their situation as captive prisoners, they just kept raving. They just kept chanting that death is eternal, giving up absolutely nothing else. Realizing they were completely brainwashed, he ordered Aisha to put them out of their misery. But as she drew her blade, ghostly green flames erupted from both of them. They were instantly turned to ash. Luckily, Aisha had already swiped something from their pockets. It was a simple map, marking the exact gathering place of these zealots. He also spotted locations of other lords, meaning the natives were actively tracking them. The local factions were already making moves against the newly arrived players. Knowing he was not the sole target made him breathe a small sigh of relief. But since they despised elves, his camp would take the hardest hit. He could not just sit around. It was time to take the fight to them. Securing Hanjong's elemental arrow tower blueprint was now a top priority. Right then, the system notified him that Aisha successfully killed the undead believer. He gained 10 experience points, even though the zealot had basically self-destructed. The system still counted it as her kill, rewarding him with shared experience. As long as the Lord is nearby, they get a cut of the action. Standard units only gained experience if they actually participated in the fight. He was not sure how natives worked, but another system alert grabbed his attention. Aisha had officially reached level 6, which made sense given her hard work. She dominated the Shadow Tiger fight and proudly announced she learned a new skill. His eyes lit up. Most units only got skills through rare books. Self-taught skills were incredibly rare, usually reserved for elite units at higher levels. We are talking level 10 or 20, yet here she was, mastering a third skill at level 6. With her talent, this kind of luck was practically unheard of. He opened her status panel to check on her new ability, the Arrow of the Moon God. It cost 30 mana, making the fired arrow absolutely precise and guaranteed to hit. Damage doubled under the moonlight, and doubled yet again during a full moon. A conceptual guaranteed hit with 0 cooldown, plus quadruple damage on a full moon. He wondered if her charged shot could actually combine with this powerful skill. Because if it did, a full moon night would unleash 8 times the damage. But it was not completely invincible. Firing a 30 mana arrow was still costly. More than Aisha could easily afford right now. He simply praised her, saying well done. She replied that his light shining upon her had brought the moon god favor. The favor descended. Startled, he wondered if he really was that amazing. He quickly brushed it off. After all, her loyalty was locked at 100. She was a loyal subordinate he could send to her death with a single word. People in his past life always said good results come from a great leader. No need to overthink it. He told Aisha to verify their map and integrate it. Combine it with what Fenrir explored and draw a new one. Then, he hesitated. He told her to wait and decided to go along, needing to move faster. He went straight to the tailor shop, planning to use his remaining tiger skins. He crafted a new coat of shadow tiger hide. Minutes later, it was done. A green glowing beast hide coat sat in his hands, the shadow robe. It granted +1 constitution and slightly reduced incoming physical damage. Though the tailor admitted it was ugly, he put it on and handed Aisha his old coat. He passed over his cotton jacket and tiger boots, telling her to put them on. She only slipped on the boots, holding the heavy coat with an apologetic look. She explained the coat was too bulky and would severely ruin her agility. She promised to wear it while resting. He shrugged, telling her to suit herself. Even without any warm lining inside, the freshly sewn beast hide coat felt incredibly warm. With this new gear, his active survival time in the frozen wasteland would skyrocket. Before heading out, he left strict instructions with Gil. The territory construction and daily gathering were now entirely under his assistant's charge. The afternoon goal was gathering stones, but they had to retreat if enemies appeared. Keeping everyone safe was the absolute priority for his growing town. Gil was deeply moved by this care, bringing him close to actual tears. Still, his loyalty did not increase. After 80, every single point was tough. They headed north. With the upgraded gear, traversing the cold wilderness felt effortless. The two of them crossed 3 to 4 kilometers in just 30 minutes. While walking easily through the harsh Arctic terrain, he did not even shiver. He picked up scattered wood and stone. Seriously, who could resist picking up free survival resources? Then he spotted a wood element crystal just lying there for the taking. This was the exact rare crystal he had struggled to trade for earlier. Thanks to this stroke of luck, they finally reached the marked destination. An endless expanse of white snow stretched before them, with zero signs of life. He pulled out the map to compare, feeling quite puzzled by it all. He wondered how this empty place could possibly be a busy gathering hub. Before he could doubt the map, Aisha whispered that someone was quickly approaching. 2 figures in gray robes appeared. He quickly pulled Aisha behind a snowdrift. They use a tiny snow drift to avoid being seen, but it is barely enough. To stay hidden, they huddle close, Aisha practically burrowing right into his arms. Her faint fragrance drifts up, but he has zero time for any distracting thoughts. All his focus is locked onto the mysterious figures moving right ahead of them. The pair squats down, fumbles around for a moment, and then completely vanishes. They disappear right into the frozen wasteland. He looks down at Aisha, whispering softly. He asks if she saw how they vanished, but she just shakes her head. Gently moving her small hand aside, he creeps over to their sudden vanishing point. A wooden board lies there, nearly buried. Their secret gathering spot is actually underground. Those cultists carved out a hidden space, completely masked by the heavy snow. Without a map or a live demonstration, nobody would ever find this. But here is the thing, knowing it there does not make things any easier. He wanted to use Aisha, the rifle, and the moon god arrow for guaranteed hits. Sniping them from afar was the plan, but fighting underground changes everything. Charging in blindly would be suicide, and flooding or burning them out is impossible. He just lacks the intel to make a safe move, checking his watch 3:18. Less than 2 hours of daylight remain, and they need 30 minutes to get back. He decides to pull back. The risk is just too high today. His sniper bullets need charged enchantments, and Fenrir must grow stronger. With Essence blood, Fenrir will grow, and more moonwells mean water sails. Marking the entrance in his mind, he leads Aisha away in a different direction. Only 1 hour of light remains, and on this frozen world, time is precious. With only 8 hours of daylight total, they cannot afford to waste a single second. They wander around, mapping out the territory and gathering any useful junk. Aisha drops a snowfield wolf with 1 arrow, securing another hide and 20 meat. With only 27 minutes left before absolute darkness, the system issues a warning. 3 hours in this freezing cold is way too much for his weak body. He leads Aisha to the local mine, since mined resources do not teleport. Without a rail line running back to his home base, he must carry everything. He acts as a human pack mule, hauling everything the workers dug up today. They make it back to camp right at 5:02 in the evening. And look at that, after half a day of hard work, his territory is finally taking shape. What started as a single campfire now boasts 4 moon wells and a blacksmith. They also have a sewing shop, a cafeteria, and several other structures nearby. A deep sense of pride wells up inside him, far better than any video game. While waiting for dinner to cook, he checks the market to list some items. He lists shadow tiger meat and some moonspring water before opening his direct messages. Scrolling through them, he sees someone offering a toilet blueprint for some water. Another player is begging Lord Gang to trade for a water elemental crystal. Thanks to his strict message filters, he only has 8 messages to read. He finds just one blueprint and some raw resources, so he accepts every trade. This completely drains his current supply of healing moonspring water. Luckily, night has fallen, and his 4 moon wells are already regenerating the supply. The water will replenish soon. He realized he might have opened the market too early. Even with his powerful cheats, he only managed one blueprint, let alone anyone else, if Jang hadn't surfaced as a competitor, he probably would have delayed even longer. He muttered to himself, wondering when these survivors would actually go out exploring. They could bring him blueprints and materials, then conveniently get hurt enough to need his moonspring water, but forget that survival first, the scent of meat. Wafted dozens of meters over, dinner was ready, so he called Gil. To bring the others, a few bites of tiger meat sent a warm surge through his body. The system reported he had consumed shadow tiger meat, and his cold resistance had increased. This gave him an idea, opening the regional channel to verify his guess. Other lords were complaining about over-recruiting polar people and crying. He completely agreed with them. These workers were too much to feed. He had miscalculated. A single snow rabbit easily yesterday made him assume wild game was common. He set up 2 meals a day for the polar people but could not keep up. He only explored within 500 meters, and that was as far as he could go. The temperature buff only lasted 20 minutes. And going further was impossible. His time out there was too short. Look at his wolf fur coat, saying others treated basic survival welfare as if it were their own skill. Some had foresight to recruit only 2, feeding them once daily. Food was on the market for wood and stone at a steep 1:30 ratio. Others yelled about being robbed by these thieving scum, but the sellers told them to get lost. There were only 10 portions left. Desperate players rushed to buy, knowing that only when they were full did they have the strength to work, and hungry polar people would easily rebel. One declared they were giving up, choosing to die as a well-fed ghost instead and reincarnate. Gang Yu knew he was right. Without cold-resistant clothing, weak cold resistance severely restricted other lords from venturing out. The food shortage was real, a detail he overlooked. One snowfield wolf gave only 18 wolf meat. 4 polar people ate a lot, costing 2 food he could use. Little fairies, other lords did not have that luxury. Even he only had enough after killing an elite beast, with over 100 pieces of shadow tiger meat in his pack, and knowing it provided both food and cold resistance. His supply was a massive strategic resource, while others traded meat for 25 to 30 units of basic materials. He had a better idea. He wanted 1 elemental crystal for 3 portions. Equipment blueprints started at 10 portions after review. Skill books were also 10 portions blind. He refused basic materials, listing only 100 portions. He needed food himself, if he were not conquering the believers. Tomorrow, with a chance of looting more, he would not sell any. The moment his food hit the market, the regional channel exploded. Lord Gang Yu was making a move again. If they could not afford it, they should not complain. It increased cold resistance. Someone purchased it immediately, despite complaining about the price. One broke student even begged Gang Yu to give it to them free with some moonspring water. His conditions strictly required rare items, blueprints, and skill books, and elemental crystals, so most just complained. The lords who could actually buy were already messaging him, including Han Zhang, who proposed a sincere trade of 30 units of tiger meat for an elemental arrow tower blueprint. But this last line in their chat was Han Zhang's older complaint, accusing Gang Yu of being insincere. So Gang Yu sent those words back, telling him not to bother him. Han Zhang did not even bat an eye, grumbling that this guy clearly held a grudge. That tiger meat deeply mattered to Han Zhong, who prided himself on being the area's top player. Spending so much time outside today made him feel the freezing cold's harsh limits. Warmth was vital for fast growth, but Gang had priced normal blueprints at 10. Since this was a rare blue grade, 30 was his absolute lowest price. Without Gang's crucial warning about the construction requirements, he would not even consider selling. Too lazy to read the long sales pitch, Gang let him stew and opened other messages. One polite survivor asked how much tiger meat a portable heat source blueprint was worth. Intrigued by the offer, Gang clicked to open the blueprint details. It was an excellent blue-grade item that required 1 mana stone and 3 iron. It also needed 1 primary fire elemental crystal to continuously emit steady heat. The developer notes even labeled it a groundbreaking invention for this frozen world. It raised perceived temperature by 10 degrees in -30 environments. Even under full daily operation, it consumed only 1 single mana stone. The system description basically called it a personal air conditioner for this transcendent world. Can you blame him for being shocked? This thing is gold in an ice age. The seller did not name a price, instead asking Gang to make an offer. Gang tested the waters, asking if the seller knew the blueprint's true worth. The seller admitted he knew it was worth far more than simple food items. But he could not craft it himself, since there were no mana stones available. He knew these basic survival blueprints would not remain extremely rare forever. However, being the very first one in their region made it incredibly valuable right now. The faster it was crafted, the safer their entire regional zone would ultimately become. Needing startup capital, he knew only brother Gang had the means to actually build it. Gang understood his reasoning, but still marveled at the young man's sheer courage. Everyone wants a bird in the hand, but very few have the guts to act. Even if more blueprints appeared later, the initial item would still hold immense value. Crafting still took precious time, so Gang made a generous counter-offer. He offered 80 tiger meat, along with a special long-term promise. Gang promised to craft the item for free whenever the seller provided the materials. It was a fair deal, as the guy possessed incredible luck and honest character. Building a solid relationship now would surely pay off big time down the road. Besides, 80 pieces of tiger meat meant very little to someone with endless food. The meat's cold resistance buff only worked once per person anyway, and he agreed. With both sides completely satisfied, the trade concluded, and Gang noted his name, Tano. Gang learned the blueprint immediately while finishing his dinner, hoping for mana stones soon. That would be a task for tomorrow, but then he remembered leaving Han Zhong waiting. Opening the chat, Gang laughed seeing his tiger meat had dropped Han Zhong's price to 20. It was an aggressive self-discount, so Gang calmly countered with 15 as his final offer. Meanwhile, in another highly developed territory, a gloomy young man stared at the message. Frustrated, Han Zhong typed out a single word agreeing to the deal. Looking at the newly acquired meat, he accepted the bitter loss for future gains. With this, he could finally explore deeper into the dangerous frozen ruins. He vowed to get his payback and make Gang beg for his potions tomorrow. Back at his base, Gang immediately activated the newly acquired Arrow Tower blueprint. He wasn't about to build it yet. His plan was to wait out the novice protection period. Even after spending 95 units of tiger meat, his remaining budget looked great. He scrolled through his messages for another deal when Fenrir eagerly called out to him. The werewolf wanted to absorb the essence blood right away. He simply nodded and gave the go-ahead. He warned his loyal beastman not to force it, since safety came first, but Fenrir looked absolutely thrilled, quickly swallowing the essence blood before walking off to refine it. Meanwhile, the master went back to sorting messages. With limited tiger meat, he had to pick the absolute best. After half an hour of digging, his eyes finally lit up. Someone was offering a rare skill. It was a common white tier chop skill book, which granted a free slashing ability. 2 instant slashes for 30 mana with a 30-second cooldown. The seller wanted 10. Units of tiger meat, he bought it, no hesitation. There was no need to ask why the seller had not used it himself, since he had no plans to learn it anyway. Mutate it, that was his goal. What could he even slash barehanded? Was he supposed to swing a random piece of wood like a sword, in this harsh world? Tiger hide could simply be draped over his shoulders for warmth, without any sewing required. He had already used 2 wooden logs as a stone sled. His strategy remained simple. Tomorrow was mutation day. Suddenly, a low growl echoed as Fenrir's aura flared. Under the moonlight, he digested the essence blood. A system notification suddenly popped up. The werewolf Fenrir successfully absorbed the shadow tiger essence blood. Aptitude upgraded, excellent status achieved, huge overall boost. Fenrir, now noticeably taller, knelt down and swore to tear apart all their enemies. His master waved him up, calling it a reward for his loyalty, before inspecting his stats. An elite werewolf, excellent aptitude, level 5 status. With 95 loyalty, his strength was 19 and agility was 22. His constitution reached 24, with 730 health and 220 mana. Along with self-healing, his skills now included wolf howl and werewolf transformation. His transformation now had critical strike and summon wolf upgraded. He could now summon 2 shadow wolves daily. Additionally, his wolf howl boosted allies by 10% while weakening enemies by 10% for 30 seconds. This effect doubled at night with a 1-hour cooldown, the actual compatibility. Between the blood and Fenrir was terrifying, jumping his aptitude up an entire tier. Talk about a massive upgrade, his attributes completely shot through the roof. He gained a flawless shadow tiger inheritance without losing his original werewolf traits. The summoned shadow wolves were completely invisible outside of combat. Using passive corrosive claws, they easily shredded enemy defense and movement speed. They could easily take down 2 snowfield wolves, but power always comes with a price. These beasts had massive appetites, which was why he had not let Fenrir summon them yet. A sudden freezing gust hit, dropping the temperature to -38 degrees near the fire. Outside, it was easily 60 or 70 below. He ordered Geel to lead the polar people. Inside, they had to touch the giant tree and whisper their room numbers, 2 per room. The assignment started from 109. Fenrir got 103, while Aisha stayed with him. Exhausted, the polar people headed inside the tree without a single backward glance. They had been desperate for rest. Fenrir cast an envious look at Aisha before retreating. He dared not disturb his master, who actually had very important business to attend to. A simple touch on the world tree instantly transported them both straight to room 100. 3 linked tree hollows form a spacious meeting room and training ground. The young lord asks Aisha to teach him combat skills. She is stunned. She never expected this simple request, but she readily agrees to help. When she asks what he wants to learn, his choice is archery. In his peaceful past life, he had never even killed a chicken. Real combat feels incredibly daunting, but this is a cruel new world. He has to bite the bullet. He cannot hide behind a screen. His lord class and empty skill slots mean he must fight personally. Ranged combat is his safest starting bet. He chooses bows and rifles. Aisha takes him back to the absolute basics. Archery seems quite simple. Just pull and shoot right. In reality, the techniques run deep. Proper stance, precise aim, and perfect mind-body coordination are all required. Luckily, Aisha is a brilliant teacher, breaking down every single detail. Under her expert eyes, his posture improves dramatically within a night. From 10 meters out, he can now hit the target half the time. Aisha praises him, calling him the most talented human archer she knows. As if reading his thoughts, Martin admits he only has elite strength. He must reach level 31 to achieve his true hero level potential. But the priest believes that day will come soon under his leadership. Martin glances briefly toward the world tree, Fenrir, and Aisha as he speaks. Right on cue, a system notification announces that the holy priest joined. This brings the territory population to 55. He ignores the delay. He already analyzed the priest's panel, but one mystery still lingers. Why did Martin's magic clear his exhaustion without triggering any notification? When asked, Martin explains it is just a variation of his healing. The young lord is amazed. Martin's actual spells exceed his official panel. But this makes perfect sense. This is a real world, not a game. Just like Aisha, Martin has skills that do not show up on screen. This means Martin's true value goes far beyond a normal recruit. Clearing out the nearby undead camp now feels like a guaranteed victory. He offers the priest breakfast in a wooden bowl, receiving polite thanks. Martin admits he is a bit hungry, but he is more curious about something else. He is staring directly at the ripe ice crystal fruit tree in the nursery. The Lord was so busy practicing archery that he forgot about them. He harvests 9 ripe fruits, sets them out, and invites Martin to eat. These unique frosty fruits provide a temporary boost to your cold resistance. Taking a bite immediately triggers a pleasant, deeply cooling sensation. The flavor is remarkably similar to a very crisp, sweet apple. A soothing chill flows through him, working differently than the meat. Martin takes just a single piece, enjoying it with quiet elegance. Leaving him to it, the Lord prepares for their early morning departure. He carefully packs away the moonring water and reorganizes the shelves. Next, he schedules the daily construction and gathering tasks for the camp. Though there are many minor chores, he finishes everything right as dawn breaks. With the territory expanding, he desperately needs a manager to assist. Multiply and he wanted to be a hands-off leader. Back at the bonfire, the 3 set to leave were ready. He told Fenrir to summon his new companions. The beast nodded, letting out a long howl before 2 massive, pitch-black shadow wolves stepped out. From the empty void, these beasts were almost the size of that shadow tiger he had encountered before, perfect for riding. The only issue was the math, 2 wolves for 4 people. After thinking it over, he made his decision. As the Lord, he needed a proper mount, and 1 wolf went to Aisha, his most loyal follower. Just as he was about to hand it over, his eyes caught sight of Gil climbing into the heavy logging machine. That was it, who said a logging machine could only log with its tracks and cabin. It made a perfect transport. He told Aisha he was sorry she had to squeeze in with him. Then he told Fenrir and Martin that one could ride the second wolf, while the other drove the logging machine. He silently swore he had no hidden, lustful motives for riding with Aisha. The werewolf Fenrir was so massive he had to ride alone or use the logging machine for travel, and Martin was a brand new hero without maxed out loyalties, no bullying the newcomer. They agreed, and Fenrir looked at Martin, gesturing for him to pick first. Although Fenrir could not see his stats, he could still sense a faint, deadly threat radiating off him. In this world, power was highly respected. Martin chose the shadow wolf, appearing surprisingly comfortable with dark shadow creatures for a holy priest. At dawn, they set off. Giant paws crunched through the quiet snow. Space on the wolf's back was incredibly cramped for 2. He could feel the soft warmth pressed against his spine, the sweet scent of Aisha's hair drifting right into his face. The biting wind whipped strands of her black hair against his neck, tickling him. In less than 30 minutes, they arrived near the camp of the undead believers. He dismounted with a blank face, storing away the massive vehicle. He, Fenrir, and Martin took cover while Aisha used the cloaked shadow wolves to scout ahead. Only he and Aisha knew the exact coordinates. They could not risk sending the Lord himself. Half an hour later, Aisha returned. Fenrir quickly got a report from his beasts, then turned back to the Lord. The absolute strongest enemy inside was merely at peak 0. He nodded, feeling far more relaxed. Enemies below level 10 were 0 tier, and 0 peak meant their leader was only level 10. At tier 1, Fenrir alone would dominate. Go, he commanded. Fenrir charged ahead with the others close behind. Aware of the enemy stats, the squad moved in with absolute confidence. No Sneaking around, Fenrir simply ripped away the heavy stone slab covering the secret underground entrance. Humid, stale air wafted out. These local camps always had some source of heat. The Lord wondered if they possessed an undying bonfire just like his. As he began his descent, a system notification flashed. It was a warning. He was entering an active danger zone. The undead base, the recommended level was only 10. A useful warning feature. Confident with the low tier, he slid down the ladder. Instantly, 3 voices barked from the dark, demanding to know who was there. Shouting about an intrusion, with one sounding thrilled about the delivery of fresh sacrifice material right to their doorstep. 3 gray-robed cultists blocked their path. They looked ready to leave, their sudden shouts echoing harshly in the silent underground space. Even the young lord's dull senses caught heavy footsteps. Echoing from afar, he ordered his group to finish them quickly, drawing his bow. First, an arrow of condensed mana rapidly took shape. He released his grip, and the arrow flew. The next instant, a phantom image formed right beside him. Copying his movements at lightning speed, it was a combo. 2 arrows shot out, almost together, and hit their targets. Screams erupted as blood gushed from a gray-robed chest. One great thing about these mana arrows was that they vanished on impact. There was no need to pull them out, causing instant bleeding. Fenrir followed closely, ripping off another head with one swift claw. An instant kill. Aisha was just as decisive, finishing off the wounded believer before slashing the throat of the last one. The system notified him that Fenrir killed a level 4 undead believer, granting 10 experience points. The battle ended in a flash. Martin did not even have to move. Aisha and Fenrir displayed flawless teamwork. His own fighting style left Aisha amazed. She marveled at how fast her lord adapted to battle. She felt him growing stronger. For a lord with no real combat experience, who had never fought before and lacked any real malice, he was incredibly talented. He began looting the bodies. 3 undead believers, all human. The system did not offer auto-collection for these creatures, so he stripped their robes off, just in case they tried to self-immolate. Again, these were great spoils. Out in the regional chat, other lords were begging for basic clothes. He also found some dried meat on them, but nothing else. Just as he finished, the hostile reinforcements finally arrived. Their leader stood out immediately, and not just for his dark robe. He carried a staff, indicating he was a mage. The system prompt revealed his stats: a black-robed undead believer, half human, half undead, with an ordinary green template. He was level 10 with the undead revival skill. A peak 0 order threat, but clearly not designed for head-on combat. Honestly, with a squad like this, nobody was worried about the new threat. As the believers approached, he ordered Martin to take down the dark mage. While Aisha and Fenrir cleared the grunts, he had to see Martin's power. Even without attack skills, holy magic should severely damage these undead, who were already transforming. The gray-robed bodies he just looted were remarkably pale compared to normal humans. Martin stepped up, gathering holy light in his hand. A blinding golden beam erupted from the heavens and struck the leader directly. In his black robe, enveloped in holy light, the dark mage screamed in agony. As dark energy burned away, a moment later, the system reported his death. The young lord stood frozen in shock. Martin was a hero, but only level 1, meaning he should only have basic elite tier power. Yet, his spell had bridged a 9-level gap to score an instant kill. He checked the details again. Holy light healing cost 100 mana and healed the target based on spirit, but against undead, it dealt 10 times spirit in damage. He had not misread it. Even with double damage, this was insane. Then he finally noticed the ancient holy tome Martin held in his hand. A faint red light flowed along the cover, clearly no decoration, but an epic item. Looking down at the bow in his hand, he sighed. It was Aisha's average green weapon. Its only saving grace was consuming mana to condense arrows out of thin air. Meanwhile, Aisha and Fenrir engaged the rest, having completed his command. Martin closed his holy tome in no hurry, showing zero interest in buffing allies or rushing to kill more believers, even though they were already turning undead. This left him completely baffled, and wouldn't you be too? Why did the priest have no urge to purify these dark, rotting creatures? Were holy light and the undead not actually complete opposites in this world? Yet the system's skill description clearly stated that holy light dealt massive damage. Maybe Martin was just a special exception. A moment later, the battle ended. His loyal beast Fenrir killed a level 4 gray-robed undead, gaining 10 experience. Aisha took down a level 5 gray-robed believer for 12 experience. With that, his level rose to 3, no surprise there honestly. With 3 high-level elites carrying him, he was like a lazy party leader, enjoying a free boost. Besides, the first 10 levels required very little experience. Both factors sent his levels skyrocketing, but Martin was a different story. Despite soloing a level 10 black-robed boss, the priest remained at level 1. The Lord could only assume that a stronger character template demanded much more experience to level up. Quickly, he began looting the dead gray-robed believers. The 8 believers and their black-robed leader each dropped a robe and weapon. The robes were just basic cotton coats without magic, and the weapons were totally plain. Still, any gear beat starting empty-handed like most other lords. He decided to keep a few decent weapons for his polar subjects' self-defense and dump the rest cheap on the market. The black-robed leader dropped a staff, a robe, a book, a map, and some coins. He toyed with the wooden staff, his mind already spinning. A staff could be perfect for his combo skill. The skill description simply stated it conjured a phantom to replicate his physical attacks. If so, could he use this combo effect to multiply his spells? His permanent profession was a lord, but who said lords could not cast magic? His status panel clearly showed attributes for both mana and spirit. Spells had high power, high consumption, and massive cooldowns, perfect for combo. The skill was a controllable passive that did not activate automatically on cooldown. He could trigger his combo whenever and with whatever spell he chose. The Lord class only offered 4 skill slots, and combo already claimed 1. That left him with only 3 slots to directly master system skills. Luckily, this was a real world where spells could be learned manually. His balanced Lord attributes grew with every level, and his special trait, Lord's power, added a nice percentage bonus. He had the perfect stats. Becoming a true mage depended on talent, so he turned to ask Martin. Did he have any potential to master the holy light? The priest smiled. He explained that only 3 kinds of people could ever command holy light: devout believers of the light, followers of the god, or those with pure hearts. Hearing that, the young lord knew he had absolutely zero chance. Besides, he had no interest in being a support. Gritting his teeth, he moved on. He pulls a yellowed book from the loot, a common militia training manual. With this, any ordinary civilian in his territory could undergo basic combat training. They would become proper militia soldiers, but he needed a training camp first. To him, this cheap manual was practically trash, so he tossed it away. Usually, these camps and manuals were how other lords built their armies. Recruitment scrolls worked too, but standard militia units were rarely strong. They rarely possessed high talent, making breakthroughs past Tier 1 almost impossible. In his hands, they had only 2 options: get sold or transmuted. Still, even basic recruits could gather resources and eventually be promoted. After stowing the book, he picked up a clinking coin purse. The system confirmed it held 16 copper coins, the most common currency. These were minted together by the 3 great northern empires. 10,000 coppers equaled 1 gold coin. Money still ruled this world. It was a crucial resource, so he tucked the purse away safely. Finally, he checked the map, which looked like the cultists' earlier one. However, this version held far more details for him to study later. The The party pressed onward, squeezing through a tight, excavated tunnel. Soon they stepped into a massive, brightly illuminated hall buried deep underground. The cultists had somehow carved this giant room 10 meters beneath the ice. At its center lay a sputtering, level 3 bonfire on its last legs. A system notification warned him it would die out without an undying ember. It seemed even the local natives relied on these magical fires to survive. Past the flames lay a horrific scene, a beating heart in green liquid. Shattered bones and frozen body parts showed they were performing dark experiments. Just as he began to search the area, a loud metal clanging echoed. And now, get this, the sudden sound of heavy chains echoed nearby. Scouts had reported only a dozen enemies living in this cave. The strongest among them was merely at the peak of Tier 0. Since the system rated this a level 10 zone, he felt confident. He ordered his party to spread out and loot the abundant resources. He gathered 13 iron ore, 26 meat, and over 100 breads. Along with some mithril and 3 undead crystals, his haul was massive. He dropped useless junk because his 20-slot inventory was completely full. The solution was simple: upgrading his territory to Tier 2 would expand it. Shifting focus, he joined the others to find that eerie scraping sound. It echoed strangely, but this hall had only one exit upward anyway. Suddenly, Martin called out, pointing toward a massive stone mural. It depicted bone dragons blocking the sun over a field of skeletons. Martin smelled rot behind it, prompting him to gather everyone to search. After scouring the stone face, he finally pressed a hidden trigger. The massive stone wall slowly parted down the middle, sliding wide open. A chilling breeze swept out, instantly snuffing out the bonfire behind them. Darkness swallowed the room until a new glow pierced through the gap. This strange, brilliant light originated from a mysterious white stone. It was a purple-grade transcendent holy light stone, radiating raw energy. The holy light power glowed, but a warning showed its energy was nearly depleted. The dazzling glow was swallowed by a nearby black hole as he stared in. As his gaze settled on the void, a system prompt suddenly appeared. The other side connected directly to an undead realm currently sealed by the stone. A countdown showed the rift would open in 92 hours, or nearly 4 days. He instinctively checked the system protection period, which also had 92 hours left. The major event following the protection end would clearly center on this portal. Suddenly, chains rattled loudly. He quickly moved to one side of the opening. Since the rift was no longer blocking the light, he quickly spotted the source. Hiding directly behind the portal was a giant, bloated, and incredibly hideous humanoid figure. The horrifying beast looked like a haphazardly stitched mass of raw, rotting flesh. Pure chaos, its limbs were clearly sewn from different species. One arm was short and thick, while the other was long and slender. Its legs were equally mismatched, all held together by thick, messy stitch lines. Dark red blood seeped from every seam, but its split stomach was worse. A human head sat inside, connected directly to a mess of pulsing intestines. A tiny second head rested on its thick shoulders with almost no neck. The heavy chain wrapped around its arm dragged loudly along the stone floor. Its other hand gripped a bloody cleaver as the system pulled up its stats. It was a level 15 elite undead monster named Pudge. The beast had 98 constitution and over 10,000 health points. Its artificial being talent gave it massive health boosts and tripled its recovery. A system note warned that this ridiculous health pool was its primary strength. Its hook skill threw a chain to pull the first target directly to it. Toxic cloud emitted from its wounds, damaging and slowing everyone around. The passive flesh accumulation skill also cut its self-inflicted damage in half. Every kill it made permanently boosted its physical attributes. Its active defense skill, Cloak of Flesh, blocked all incoming damage for a time. The block lasted 3 seconds, though the cooldown was currently unknown. Its devour skill allowed it to swallow victims and steal their skills. The system note added a chilling warning that victims would truly become one with it. He grew incredibly tense, looking at this hideous thing who wouldn't. It possessed immense health, high defense blocks, and absurd healing speed. If Martin had not been there, he would have retreated immediately. But after seeing Martin easily defeat a level 10 mob, he wanted to fight. Fortunately, the monster had absolutely no interest in attacking them first. When he first noticed it, the giant merely glanced up before looking back down. He realized why the system protection period had not warned him about this beast. This particular monster would never actively attack unless someone struck first. He sent Fenrir ahead to scout while retreating toward the entrance with Aisha. After some careful testing, their theory about its passivity was fully confirmed. Thoroughly relieved, he immediately began drafting a basic battle strategy. It was more like loose preparation, since the combat situation could change instantly. His battle-tested companions needed no direction, and Martin stepped up first. The priest gently opened his dark tome, conjuring a brilliant golden chain. The light vanished into the four of them. He felt a faint, intangible connection link them. Life chain could link up to 5 targets. Whenever anyone took damage, it was shared by everyone on the chain, reducing the blow by 20% and preventing instant kills. It triggered once per person, lasting 30 minutes with a 12-hour cooldown. This was Martin's talent, incredible duration, 20%. Reduction, shared pain, and a one-time cheat death effect. It gave them confidence. Against a level 15 elite, Martin softly chanted, and 3 holy lights appeared above their heads. The blessing of courage boosted their attack and spell power by 50, max health and mana by 20%, and armor by 10. Martin and he watched. As an experienced gamer, he understood threat and aggro mechanics perfectly. Bosses usually focused heavily on healers and supports, and although he did not know if this reality followed game rules, it was better to be cautious. Pudge's chain was no joke. Fenrir and Aisha charged, and the beast let out a roar. His body swelled instantly, dark fur growing wild as he dropped low as a mighty giant wolf. The pressure from Pudge was overwhelming, even with the life chain and blessing active. Fenrir was not confident and popped his ultimate immediately. Aisha raised her weapon, Heaven's Grace, as her aura surged. She charged her shot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fenrir the giant wolf lunged forward like a dark shadow, sharp claws striking Pudge's exposed abdomen. A heavy thud rang out, as if striking steel instead of flesh. The giant wolf grimaced and scrambled backward, but 2 massive white bone hands materialized, pinning him down completely. He could not move. Then a red light flickered in the eyes of the head on Pudge's abdomen. Those bone hands were from his devour ability. Martin reacted fast, flipping his book, but wait, someone else was faster. A loud gunshot and a glowing blue bullet struck Pudge right between the eyes. That sudden impact interrupted the monster's next move, letting Fenrir break free and escape. If he had taken that hit directly, even with the life chain, it would have been devastating. Aisha's strike did far more than just rescue him. On impact, the bullet shattered into chilling frost that enveloped Pudge. This frost bullet slowed movement by 25%. Every 10 seconds, with failure freezing the target, but its actual duration depended entirely on the target's strength. Pudge's movement speed visibly plummeted. After that terrifying close call, Fenrir grew incredibly cautious, no longer approaching the beast, choosing to circle and distract while Aisha handled the heavy damage. Though Pudge possessed immense power, its mind was dull, completely ignoring Aisha, whose deadly aura surged in the distance, to blindly chase. Fenrir, with its movement speed crippled, the monster could not catch the nimble 4-legged beast. Pudge flew into a rage, from the head on its stomach. And those thick stitches, a toxic green gas erupted, covering 5 meters around its massive body, moving alongside the cloud. Fenrir's speed plummeted in the dim mist. An iron chain clattered out, flying straight toward Fenrir. Its timing was flawless, its speed absolutely terrifying. Fenrir had no time to dodge. The giant wolf's waist was violently wrapped by the tightening chain. With a sudden yank of Pudge's left arm, Fenrir was pulled right in front of the monster's chest, looking tiny despite measuring 1.5 meters tall. Like a puppy before Pudge, the icy wind from that falling cleaver could be felt even by him at the entrance. Still, he was not worried. Fenrir was not. Unprepared, he quickly adjusted his stance the exact moment the chain loosened. With a self-healing talent and a trading playstyle, Fenrir knew exactly which part to take the hit on. He had to test Pudge's strength, even if injuries were inevitable. But with the life chain active, there was absolutely no fatal threat. The margin for error was massive. The moment that giant cleaver struck, he could vaguely see golden chains as the bone cleaver bit deep. The moment Fenrir was hit, his own vitality drained rapidly. He glanced at Fenrir. The warrior looked disheveled, but his combat power was intact. The life chain had forcibly dispersed and transferred his heavy injuries to the entire party. Seeing that Pudge's strongest blow was survivable, Fenrir regained his absolute focus. He circled the beast, seizing every chance to counterattack. When Pudge struck again, the impact felt completely different from the warrior's very first strike. This led him to believe that Pudge had activated a special physical defense. The active block of flesh accumulation was up. Meanwhile, Aisha's shot was ready. Her armor-piercing bullet flew, completely ignoring the monster's defense. It dealt total physical damage, aiming directly at the human head on its torso. That abdomen head cast terrifying white bone spells that had to be stopped. It was a priority. The bullet flew too fast for Pudge to evade. Still, the beast's senses were sharp. The moment the gun fired, a red light flashed. It activated its active block again, trying to absorb the impact. Yet the head on its abdomen was instantly blasted into a bloody, bony mess. Shards of bone fell everywhere. Pudge roared in pure agony, flinging its heavy iron chain right at Aisha, but she sensed the incoming danger immediately. Without any crowd control to stop her, dodging that slow chain was simple. Very difficult to land. Of course, if the target were him, he never could have dodged it. The strength gap was simply too massive. By now, Pudge's skills had all been revealed. Its attack patterns were fully understood. Still, honestly, taking it down was incredibly hard. The bullet wounds on its massive body were already healing. Wounds that would kill other beasts were nothing to Pudge. Those heads were not even vital points. This gargantuan size and unreal regeneration made it almost immortal. He drew his bow, shouting for the attack. He notched an arrow. The real star of this battle was always going to be Martin, the master of holy light. As his arrow struck Pudge's rotting flesh, a holy beam descended from the sky, completely engulfing Pudge's mountain of rotting flesh. Dark mist rose amid mournful screams. When the pure radiance faded, the toxic mist surrounding Pudge cleared away and its bloated body visibly deflated. It did not trigger an instant kill like a true believer, but the damage from this single burst of holy light far surpassed everything Aisha and Fenrir had done. Even better, Martin's holy healing had no cooldown whatsoever. One pure beam after another rained down. The poison mist dissipated as its body became horribly scarred and pockmarked. Dark smoke billowed from its heavy wounds. After unleashing 5 consecutive holy blasts, Martin finally closed his sacred book and stopped moving. When asked why, Martin only smiled. His unchanging expression carried a shocking truth as he calmly explained his mana was gone. That rapid, crazy spellcasting had made everyone completely forget. Martin was still just a level 1 elite, despite his epic gear. He pointed out that the stitched monster's passive healing was temporarily down. The rest of this fight was up to our hero now. As Martin closed his holy book, he simply walked away, leaving him behind without any way to fight. After taking so many incredibly heavy blows, avoiding Pudge's sharp edges was the smartest move. Damage could be shared, but not the actual pain. With the fifth shot of Heaven's Grace, the giant creature began to sway. It shook a few times and collapsed as system prompts flooded in. Defeating the level 15 stitched beast granted 500 experience and boosted his own level to 4. Fenrir leveled up 2, and Martin gained 2 levels for his incredible help. The helper nearly caught up to him. Putting his bow away, he approached the dead boss. Even in death, the monster felt heavy, but high risk meant high rewards. 3 glowing, different-colored orbs of light lay scattered around the dead body. He gathered them up to find a book shaped like warped flesh. This transcendent book granted unique flesh accumulation. It required constitution over 50 or a strong innate talent above 10. A creepy warning noted that forcing its use could mutate him into something absolutely horrifying. The passive ability absorbed flesh essence with every kill to boost attributes. This triggered once a day. The active skill created a massive defensive shield. The gross, fleshy aura completely blocked all forms of incoming damage from every single source. Lasting 3 seconds with a 10-second cooldown, this item was a masterpiece. Who would have thought his signature skill would drop first? Absolutely wild. A skill that scaled forever and blocked even the absolute deadliest damage. Aisha's armor-piercing shot had been severely weakened by this defensive skill, so he decided to save it for later. Next was Pudge's hook, an excellent blue-tier offhand weapon. It required strength over 20 and featured an active chain hook skill. It could drag targets directly to his position, though a stronger foe might pull him instead. The third item was a massive book about the dark art of necromancy. It explained the essentials of crafting stitched monsters from raw flesh. Reading this dark manual required a spirit attribute over 10 and 12 hours of study. That's a pretty wild twist, a book you actually have to read. This required actual reading and a deep, genuine comprehension of the text. There was no easy system shortcut or simple blueprint to bypass this. Absolutely nobody in their party could read the book, so he silently packed it away. He saved the book for a mutation experiment planned for tomorrow. Silence fell over the dark space, broken only by the holy light stone. He asked Martin about its purpose, and the mage gladly explained. The rare stone infused the temple's holy water with incredibly powerful healing and purifying properties. It could also be slotted into armor to grant holy light elements. He curiously asked if someone could actually steal the stone without opening the rift early. Martin's bright smile suddenly froze before he slowly gave his answer. It was possible if a master of the holy light could take over and keep suppressing the rift around the clock, but he dismissed the idea. Immediately, with only 3 or 4 days left, Martin was too important to leave. Babysitting a rock, by then it was past 1, with half the day already gone. The underground space was fully explored, so he called his team back to rest. After such a brutal battle, everyone was completely exhausted, but right as he turned to leave, he remembered the human undead believers could not actually be harvested. That stitched monster was not human, though. He turned back, the second his hand touched the flesh, the system agreed. The stitched monster's corpse was blue tier and completely harvestable. He chose to harvest. The body dissolved into white light and vanished, leaving behind an excellent blue tier, stitched monster soul essence. It carried the monster's soul power, allowing him to create more or even purify it to upgrade the base potential of any low-tier unit. The system even left a creepy note saying it saw him. He sighed at how those blinding light orbs almost made him miss this treasure. Aptitude-boosting items meant his hard-trained troops would never fall behind due to terrible starting stats. His massive early investments would not go to waste. He asked Martin to purify it, having zero interest in creating another stitched monster, who knew how long they'd wait to find someone capable of reading that wicked spellbook. Besides, his territory was blessed by pure holy light and favored by nature, leaving no room for such rot. But Martin explained that the holy light clashed with the dark soul essence, meaning he currently could not cleanse it without destroying its power, but currently meant. It was possible later, right? Martin nodded, saying he needed to reach level 30 first. He praised his wisdom and asked for other options. Martin pondered, then suggested dropping it into the moon well to cleanse it with the goddess of the moon's power. He was thrilled. A casual question had yielded a brilliant solution, he gathered. Everyone led them out of the mural space and sealed the entrance, to block any entities on the other side from crossing over too early. He reluctantly sacrificed a highly precious, rare magical gem. Absolutely nothing could go wrong in these 92 hours. Their journey back went smoothly, and by 1:30 they reached home. Resting comfortably by the bonfire, with 3.5 hours until sunset, the rich aroma drifted from the hall. He laid out the loot, planning how to distribute everything. Everything had to be optimized, he thought. Empowering his villagers was the same as strengthening himself. Surprisingly, none of the high-tier gear on the ground was suited for him. The flesh accumulation skill went straight to Fenrir. He wanted this infinite survival skill. But it would take way too long for him to meet the steep requirements. It simply did not fit his efficiency rules. Aside from himself, only Fenrir and Martin could actually learn it. Besides, why would a backline support priest ever need an ultimate survival skill? Fenrir's innate regeneration matched it flawlessly. The beastman thanked him with absolute devotion. Overjoyed to learn an extraordinary grade skill in his lifetime, suddenly, a notification popped up. Fenrir's loyalty spiked to 99, unlocking the diehard status. The system noted that diehard followers would never betray their lord and would obey every order without question. He wondered what a perfect 100 loyalty would look like. Aisha remained normal, while Martin at 65 was already perfectly obedient. He brushed it off. Pudge's iron hook also went to Fenrir. A completely obvious choice. The warrior was shaking with raw excitement, realizing he actually contributed the least, but still walked away with the most rewards. He voted him most valuable player. The man hesitated, but the Lord insisted he accept it. This was for the territory's development, prompting the man to swear absolute loyalty to him. Then his gaze shifted to Martin. The priest had easily played the most crucial role. Even if a powerhouse like him ignored material rewards, the proper formalities had to remain. But as the Lord rehearsed his speech, the grand promises started sounding way too manipulative. After all, Martin was a holy priest who could easily outplay him in faith games. Scrapping the mental script, the Lord simply told the priest everything was thanks to him. Martin thanked him for the praise, then asked to borrow the stitched monster book instead. Intrigued, the Lord handed over the book, which was practically leaking an evil aura. The priest recognized it as a guide to necromancy basics and took it without hesitation. The Lord quickly warned him not to purify the book, since he still needed it. He reassured the priest he would not study evil powers, but Martin just laughed it off. He explained that raw power had no alignment and told the Lord not to worry. Hearing that from a holy priest felt bizarre, but the Lord decided to let it go. He certainly did not want a religious fanatic running around purifying everything in his territory. Speaking of purification, he suddenly remembered something and headed straight for the moon well. He dropped the soul essence inside. Nothing happened, but the well only worked at night. Plus, Martin had mentioned that resolving elemental conflicts always took a bit of time. While eating tiger meat in the dining hall, his thoughts drifted to the cultist map. He expected a simple, integrated version of the grave map, but one glance changed everything. Talk about a massive surprise. This was absolutely not a normal surface map. It detailed a massive subterranean network, even showing the iron mine he claimed on day 2. If this layout was correct, that mine was hiding some serious secrets. Right next to his current mine was another cavern marked as a mana stone mine. Mana stones, finding these meant his portable heat sources would finally become incredibly useful. Finishing his lunch in a hurry, he set off immediately with his 3 companions. By now, they knew the path to the mine like the back of their hands. Arriving at the site, the Lord ordered his squad to fan out and search. They spent 30 minutes looking for a hidden entrance to the deeper underground. Unfortunately, they found nothing. The only path down was through the main mine. Confused, he recalled the hidden cultist base they had discovered earlier. That place was hidden by magic, so perhaps this mine held a secret too. He shared his theory with the team before calling over Gi Som and Gi Sa. These two had been working here for 2 days and knew the area best. He asked them if they noticed anything unusual, though he did not expect much. If there was a major issue, he would have heard about it by now. But Gi Som nervously admitted he found a strange anomaly just this morning. Seeing the Lord frown, the miner quickly promised he was going to report it. He had no plans to hide it. The Lord warned him never again. From now on, any strange occurrence had to be reported immediately. Ordering the miner to lead, he quickly recalled the scattered mercenary group. They followed Gi Som deep into the mine, reaching a blocked tunnel. The miner mentioned hearing creepy noises from behind the rocks, terrifying him. Waving him aside, the Lord signaled, and Fenrir confidently stepped forward. With a final confirmation, the tunnel broke through, and Gi returned alongside. Jaws swinging their heavy pickaxes and sweating, that next strike unleashed a cold wind. Howling from the other side, quickly followed by a newbie protection period prompt. He was about to enter a highly dangerous zone, the Mana Stone Mine, occupied by 2 major underground races, and let me tell you, both sides would target him instantly. The recommended challenge level was 15, a seriously dangerous zone. He had to weigh his options. Compared to the Believer gathering place, this level requirement was simply what was needed to clear the zone, not the rank of every single monster. Those passive stitched monsters probably were not even factored in. This 5-level jump was a massive qualitative shift from Tier 0 to Tier 1. That last stitched monster fight proved their bullets were spent and Fenrir's ultimate was gone. Their overall combat power was weakened, with no recovery time. Only Martin was in peak shape, and it was unclear if these underground races were undead. Still, the mine map looked vastly larger than the Believer gathering place. There was no way to fully explore today, meaning low risk of meeting boss monsters. So he decided to explore the outer edges and clear weaker monsters. Let us look, he called, waving them in. Fenrir, with a vanguard tank's instincts, pushed through the gap. His voice echoed back, reporting no danger. He stepped inside with Aisha and Martin. The abandoned mine was incredibly dark, only lit by the path behind them. He called for Martin, and a glowing ball of light quickly hovered upward, his signature illumination spell. Fenrir had night vision and had already spotted something. On the wall, a simple mana-powered mining lamp, running on just 1 mana stone to keep it lit for 3 months, abandoned for 3 months at least by the description. He approached and touched the mana stone, but it instantly turned to powder. He immediately retracted his estimate. This iron was older than 3 months, at least 30 years. After recruiting Martin, he had asked about these stones. Depleted ones did not crumble like this. This was the destructive power of time. The rusted lighting device proved it. The mine floor was covered in scattered rails. Minecarts and mana stones. Dilapidated carts were lined up, surrounded by a few dusty mana stones. Only the metal rails were etched with mysterious, glowing patterns, carrying a faint energy flow that completely resisted the erosion of time. He packed the broken minecarts away, planning to repair them with iron later. Having intact carts would be incredibly useful. He did not expect some automatic rail system. But even having polar people push these heavy carts was great. He mobilized everyone immediately, gathering up every scattered cart and mana stone. Once counted, the scavenged loot was abundant. Just from picking up trash, he got 11 stones and 7 damaged carts. The rails were firmly embedded and unmovable, but once he cleared the area and started mining, those rails would become highly useful. He ordered everyone forward. The central chamber branched into 7 or 8 different tunnels, and he picked one at random. Fenrir led the way as they followed. To avoid getting lost, his shadow wolf used a rather gross marking method. Marking their way like that, it was not long before a quiet rustle echoed ahead. A dungeon rat demon, Fenrir and the shadow wolf shared vision across a short range, so they approached carefully. The source was two creatures with rat heads and human bodies resembling massive upright rats that had adapted to walking. Life underground is brutal. The rat demons stand less than a meter tall with slender limbs perfect for navigating narrow shafts. Their smell is incredibly sharp. The moment they approach, the pests bolt into the depths. Fenrir uses night vision to chase, returning with two corpses to prove he did not fail. No loot prompt appears. He wonders if the system refuses to harvest intelligent or humanoid targets, but as Fenrir tosses the bodies, a stone rolls out, a mana stone with clear bite marks. He cannot sit still. These pests are gnawing mana stones he already considers his own, a direct theft of his private property. Speed up, he orders. He cannot even fathom how many more pests are chewing through this sprawling mine. They pick up the pace but stay grouped. No splitting up today. Aisha slays a level 4 rat demon for 10 experience. Fenrir hunts down a level 6, earning 15. Both reach level 7. He checks the time, 4 in the afternoon. Time to pull back. It takes 30 minutes to reach the iron mine, then more. To get home, he orders his team to clean up and prepares to return. Tomorrow, they harvested 41 mana stones. The rat beasts fought were levels 4 through 8. Easy farming, mostly because the map lets him bypass main tunnels and wide areas. The group follows the shadow Wolfback, nearing the iron mine, his racing pulse finally slows down. Only rat beasts so far, but the warning system mentioned 2 hostile underground races. Down here, a wolf howl echoes nearby. Damn it, he curses silently. The shadow wolf leading them was ambushed while completely cloaked, detected on the very first try. Just yesterday, that same wolf walked right past a level 10 believer unnoticed. Completely undetected, Fenrir stands beside him, wearing a dead serious expression, warning him that this foe is highly dangerous. He has lost all contact with the wolf. There is no escaping this. They must face it head-on unless he wants to spend the night in this abyss. Passing the final shaft, they return to the starting room, empty, except for the shadow wolf torn open. A pool of blood, his heart sinks. Has the killer fled, or he slowly slides his feet closer to Aisha, catching her soft, calming scent, the heavy dread on his shoulders lightens, his mind clears. An enemy lurking in the dark, whose killing intent he can clearly feel, cannot be invincible. What is there to fear? Waiting around will not help. He gives Fenrir a sharp look. The beast understands, slowing his pace to trail a few meters behind. The trio, the stalker, remains patiently hidden, just as Aisha, Martin, and he step through the passage and back into the original iron mine. The hidden hunter finally strikes, and it is a brutal move. Jagged stone spikes thrust upward like deadly blades. Fenrir has zero time to react. His body is launched violently into the air. A massive, scarab-like beast emerges, sharp bone spurs covering its heavy joints. Its 2 forelimbs slash in a deadly cross at the airborne wolf, but they planned for this trap. Flesh wall. Fenrir instantly activates his newly learned skill. Tanking the rock spikes with minimal damage, he keeps enough focus in midair to guard his vital spots from the incoming blades, landing heavily. Aisha's counterattack arrives. She fires an arrow packed with the absolute power of a 3-second charge, sliced through the dust and struck the beetle's compound eye. He had no weapon and could only watch from the side, but he was not worried. This was only a level 10 elite, a creature skilled in assassination, not sustained combat, a level 10 insectoid elite with 19 strength, 34 agility, 29 constitution, and 25 spirit, featuring a perception talent that detected cloaked targets within a 3-meter radius. Earth spike, retaliation, and burrow. Earth spike, condensed rock that pierced and launched the target into the air, stunning them on landing. retaliation entered. Stealth boosted movement speed and doubled the damage of breaking. Attacks, its burrow skill allowed it to go underground and quickly recover. Now keeping this creature from escaping was going to be the real challenge. And losing it meant a fatal threat to the polar people mining below. The entire territory's progress would slow down. This monster had to die. Today, his subordinates leaped into action. Fenrir sprang forward with a quick flip, unleashing a terrifying howl that triggered his skill as he charged the beetle. With Fenrir keeping it busy, Aisha safely charged her shot. 1, 2, 3. Sensing danger, the beetle shoved Fenrir back and slammed its limbs into. The earth spike erupted, but Aisha was the real target. As the sharp rock shot up to impale her, she nimbly dodged aside. The beetle's compound eyes glinted with triumph because her evasion did not matter. It only wanted that split second to dig rapidly into the dirt. But just as it prepared to burrow and escape, an arrow pierced the air. Utilizing her moving shot, Aisha kept her aim steady even while sprinting. The devastating charged arrow blasted directly into its head, causing dark green blood to spray everywhere, yet the stubborn insect kept swaying. He was helpless, Aisha out of reach, and Martin indifferent. But Fenrir exerted his strength, firing the grappling hook on his right arm. To ensnare the beast, heavily wounded, the creature was utterly powerless and got dragged right to him. His left claw plunged in, crushing its brain. Slain beetle level 10, 50 experience points. He let out a sigh of relief as it had almost escaped. Only 11 minutes remained before nightfall. He ran over, finding no light clusters, only harvestable parts like 2 forelimbs. 6 eggs, a carapace, and 18 meat. He stuffed it all away quickly. Into his pack, he quickly reblocked the passage between the iron mine and the mana mine, rushing home. The time was 5:06 p.m. The ambient temperature hit -57. In the distance stood the world tree. Can you imagine being stuck out here? This was his first night outside. The cold was brutal, dropping from -34 to -57 in minutes. Now it hit -58, without his levels, tiger coat, and Martin's holy light, he would have frozen solid. Even the cold-resistant polar people were shivering now that the sun had set, their endurance failing. Fenrir had the highest stats and claimed he could survive another 10 minutes. Ice crystals clung to Aisha's eyelashes as she shivered in the cold. Martin's magical robe protected him, keeping the freezing elements out. It was clear that hunting at night was still impossible. The portable heat source could only raise temperatures from -30 to -10. But it was useless against -60. Night hunting required leveling up first. A stronger physique meant the harsh environment would not matter at all. Suddenly, distant cheers about the Lord returning interrupted his thoughts. Outside the territory, Jill and several polar people were waiting eagerly. They least wanted anything to happen to him, since good lords are rare. After finally getting full meals every day, they never wanted to go back. Returning to his territory, he wished he could just dunk himself in the fire. He spent nearly 10 minutes by the flames before finally recovering. While waiting for dinner, he decided to check the dungeon beetle spoils. The blue egg was excellent, containing a note with special instructions. Place in warm underground areas with earth crystals to boost success. His eyes lit up at the thoughts of crowd control and stealth. The insect race matured rapidly, meaning a successful hatch brought immediate power. Unlike that other thing, he muttered, glancing at the incubator. The shadow tiger egg was still incubating with no signs of life. Even after nearly 2 days, nothing had changed, so he visited the nursery. He dug a shallow hole, burying the 6 eggs with an earth crystal. Now they would see which hatched first. The limbs could craft daggers. But he lacked high-level blueprints, and standard gear would waste them. The same went for the carapace, which required a skilled blacksmith. Both items went into storage. Tonight, he would try some beetle meat. He called over Captain Jill, handing him the meat for dinner. Next, he checked the market. His listed moon well water remained popular. 5 portions put up for basic resources had already completely sold out. It secured 195 wood and 97 stone after fees. The rest traded for rare blueprints, leaving his inbox flooded with messages. He opened one from Han Zhang, who seemed extremely anxious. The desperate messages from him were coming in a fast, relentless flurry. He claimed the tiger meat worked wonders, then asked about the water. He wondered why such a precious healing item was priced so low. If the Lord wanted to protect his reputation, Han Zhang offered to buy it directly. He offered a 20% premium, paying 360 wood per unit instead. Otherwise, his own low-tier healing potions would lose all market value. He practically begged him to stop, claiming his business was completely ruined. The cheaper, superior Moonspring water was completely destroying his entire livelihood. Admitting absolute defeat, he begged the Lord to raise his prices immediately. Was he really under that much pressure to act so crazy? The Lord checked the market transaction records to investigate further. It turned out Han Zhang bought materials yesterday at 300 wood each. But his potions only sold for 180 wood, a total loss. The man was a literal king of charity, but was the market saturated? He had only listed single-digit units for 10,000 lords. Suspecting a competitor, he searched the keyword healing on the market. Several pages of basic bandages popped up. It all made perfect sense. The Moonspring water locked down the price, leaving Han Zhang's mediocre potions for minor injuries only. For severe wounds, people needed Moonspring water. Bandages were enough for minor scrapes. A market still existed, but Han Zhang's monopoly was shattered, serving him right. Gang Yu opened their private chat, jokingly telling the merchant to call him daddy. Han Zhang replied instantly, calling him daddy, prompting Gang Yu to welcome his obedient son. The merchant asked where this Moonspring water came from and how much was left. Gang Yu told him he was too late because everything was already gone. He silently added that only today's stock was gone. The merchant grumbled, doubting his words. Still, Han Zhang politely claimed he looked forward to their next trade. The merchant immediately raised his prices from 90 stone or 30 iron to far higher rates. Setting it to 130 stone, the merchant claimed he did not care. That was the merchant's move, but watch how the young lord answers. As night fell, idle lords were highly sensitive to any shift in the market. In the regional chat, people immediately noticed the merchant's greedy price hike. They called Han Zhang greedy, telling everyone to wait for Gang Yu's Moonspring water. Many wondered if he would list more tomorrow, or if Han Zhang had inside info. Desperate buyers tagged Gang Yu, begging to know if water was coming tomorrow. Han Zhang watched the chat and smiled, buying a single stone from the market. He paid someone to start this rumor and drive up the demand. If Gang Yu stayed silent, Han Zhang's expensive potions would sell out instantly. A quick response would confirm that he still had inventory in reserve. Unaware of these petty schemes, Gang Yu was happily picking out new blueprints. First was a white common recipe for spicy rabbit meat, perfect for cooking. The effects depended on ingredients like rabbit meat, chili, ginger, and clear water. Essential items included rabbit, chili, Sichuan peppercorns, ginger, and sugar. Once eaten, this spicy dish would temporarily increase the user's cold resistance. It boosted cold resistance for 30 minutes and added 1 point to constitution. Using spicy food to battle the cold was brilliant, so he bought it. He also grabbed a blueprint for fine iron arrows, even though he rarely used them. His advanced bow shot invisible arrows, but selling crafted ammunition was highly profitable. It beat selling raw iron. Lastly, he checked a high-priced skill book. This was an excellent green-grade explosive fireball skill book, requiring 10 spirit. Charging for 3 seconds, unleashed a blast dealing 220% damage. It inflicted a 5-second burn at 20% power, with a 48-second cooldown. The mana cost was 50, which made it far too demanding for average lords. But Gang Yu traded 5 Moonspring water units and a tiger egg for it. It was a mutually beneficial trade, giving the seller valuable resources and a pet. For him, those 5 water units only took a few hours to produce. Plus, Aisha warned him the weak egg would only hatch a basic pet anyway. He secured a massive profit and learned the destructive spell immediately. Wanting to avoid unstable mutations, he had turned his medical kit into a scroll. His spirit attribute had just reached 10.04 after leveling up. He learned the explosive fireball skill, leaving 2 spell slots open. Now it was time to test his theory on casting. Focusing his mind, he gripped his white grade staff and braced himself. The explosive fireball icon flickered on his panel as energy drained continuously. Out from deep within him, a scorching aura condensed at his staff's tip. Out of his peripheral vision, a phantom materialized, its staff also gathering energy. 3 seconds later, 2 orange-red, basketball-sized fireballs formed. They drifted forward slowly, making him wonder if they could hit anything. But a second later, they hit maximum range and exploded midair. Flames erupted outward, and even from 30 meters away, he felt the heat. A blistering gust blew past. Snow melted instantly, sending steam into the air. Dirt flew everywhere. He took back his doubts. This spell was the real deal. A 10-meter kill zone, easily. This is the kind of power that changes everything. Combos were incredibly destructive, but if a low-tier spell was this deadly, what next? How extreme would things get later on? What about his own subordinates? What if one spell wiped out 1,000 enemies but cost 800 allies? Since he did not understand, he turned to a native mage for answers. Martin pondered, explaining that this involved a brand new concept called skill mastery. He said that while skill books granted abilities, they remained rigid and fixed. Preset program style, his fireball had a completely locked chant. 3-second delay, 0 skip, no control over range, power, or cooldown. He could only choose when to fire. Then, Martin summoned a blinding holy light. It became a sword, slashing him. He barely felt it, just a sting. Only a mild sting. High-tier powerhouses have mastered their skills completely. They can bypass friendly fire completely, adjusting their spells perfectly on the fly. Just like Martin's harmless strike, this explanation opened up a whole new world for him. Could every skill be mastered, even passive ones like Fenrir's flesh accumulation? Martin believed so. He did not know the ultimate limit of flesh accumulation, but theorized a maxed-out flesh wall could offer massive defense benefits. It might reduce energy loss, boost local strength, and maximize defense. Lower cooldowns, longer durations, and total manual control at will. But his biggest question remained: how does someone actually master a skill? Martin had an answer. This was hero-level territory, and even he was just starting. Brute force practice, the simple way, use it over and over. The skill book had already carved the technique straight into his soul. Practice, he had plenty of time, and the night was perfect. Groundwork first, mana check, 151 out of 200. He recovered only 1 point since casting. Natural regeneration was far too slow. Market search, mana recovery, empty, better to make it himself. He updated his trade offer for his listed Moonring water, requesting rare blueprints. He needed potion blueprints and items that granted mana recovery. Mage skill books were also on the table, the confidence of dominating the market. While grabbing a bite, he opened the market to secure basic resources. He had plenty of mana stones, but needed portable heat sources. He wanted primary fire elemental crystals and dungeon beetle hatching materials. Those required primary earth crystals, so he decided to stock up. He traded 5 iron for 1 primary fire crystal, paying 2 wood. He traded 120 wood for another, paying 6 wood in fees. After a series of trades, his fire crystals reached 28 and earth 16, the markets. Elemental crystals were almost entirely bought out by him. That should be enough for Now, he closed the market screen and went to the crafting table to start manually. Crafting portable heat sources. A sudden flash, the materials vanish. Manufacturing. In progress, 11 minutes and 58 seconds left on the countdown. Lost 3 iron, 1 mana stone, and 1 primary fire elemental crystal. He gained 1 portable heat source. He toyed with the Iron Man chest reactor-like device, marveling at the system. Red patterns and a black mana stone were embedded. He attached it and pressed activation. Instant heat swept through his entire body, walking in large movements did not affect it. Extremely comfortable. He switched it off. This device consumed 1 mana stone a day at full power. He decided to make 3 more, 12 minutes. Each. The polar people could wait. He had to practice tonight too, nearly an hour. Later, he had 4 portable heat sources, leaving 1 extra. He messaged Tan Chungu through private chat. Brother Tan, list any wood for sale. Active on the public channel. Tan saw the PM and quickly obeyed. Lord Gang Yu wanted to exchange 1 portable heat source and 3 mana stones for 1 wood. Did he agree? Tan had already found mana stones. Who wouldn't be shocked? Tan Chungu was stunned. Gang Yu acquired something he hadn't even heard of and was just giving it to him for free. He declined, saying he wasn't worthy. Gang Yu insisted he take it. With this, Tan's exploration range would expand. And if he found blueprints he did not need later, he should remember him. He thanked Gang Yu, calling him Brother Gang, and said he wouldn't be polite. Lost 1 portable heat source and 3 mana stones. Gained 1 wood. Paid 15 wood handling fee, surprisingly high. Gang Yu estimated it was a system limit on strong individuals. From helping weaker ones excessively, he started organizing the day's work. Tomorrow's warmth was solved. The territory expanded after the level 3 bonfire. And the 4th and 5th moon wells were arranged. Today's resources were tallied. Trades handled. Oh, right, the dungeon beetle. He went back to the nursery, redug the incubation spot, and placed 5 more primary earth elemental crystals at once. 6 eggs for 6 crystals seemed reasonable. His gaze fell on the constant temperature box. If this shadow tiger didn't hatch soon, it would only ever be raised as a kitten. If it didn't come out, he'd stew it. He tapped the box in half-jest. Time to begin the long night. He walked to the world tree, picking all the ice crystal fruit before leaving. A long night needed adjustments. When he entered World Tree Room 000, Aisha had been training there. A long time. She stopped and bowed. He was curious since he hadn't called her. She explained she had also heard Martin's skill proficiency talk. Deep determination filled her clear eyes, hiding words she hadn't spoken. She was the first warrior under the Lord, but in just 2 days the Lord had gained 2 more, and even Fenrir, originally weaker, was now stronger, as royalty of the silver moon. Elves she had pride. She could not allow herself to fall behind his pace. Storm infused her body, pushing her speed to its absolute limit. Wind step at high speed. She drew the bow and notched an arrow, holding it without firing. Chard shot. Practice diligently. Use it often. Martin's advice. Room 000 was extremely spacious, plenty of room for several practitioners. She was diligent. He was happy to let her be. He watched a while, then began his own practice. After a few, despite casting explosive fireballs, he only grew tired, yet he remained undeterred. He was not discouraged. Practice took time. He was only level 4 with 10 spirit. Perhaps accumulated experience would yield results later, after draining his mana completely. He sat cross-legged, admiring the beauty beside him. He was truly glad Aisha was there. Otherwise, waiting for mana would be agonizing. Cast, wait, after dozens of repetitions, a dizzy spell hit, caused by excessive mental exertion. Casting consumed mana and mental energy as well. The system's help limited his control to selecting targets, but dozens of casts still strained his spirit. Meanwhile, Aisha was full of vigor, even with her coat shed and sweat dripping. Clearly, training was not easy for her. Either. He told her to rest early and bade her good night before returning to his room. He couldn't sleep. His mind raced, thinking of tomorrow's mutation and the mana stone mine. complete with the shadow tiger and hatching beetles. At dawn on day 4, he awoke to a system announcement, triggered because all surviving lords had finally completed their first kill. The territory ranking was activated. This was a regional ranking. Settlements scheduled for the night the novice protection period ended. The territory rankings comprehensively evaluated population, resources, buildings, and combat. Power plus each lord's personal strength. Settlement rewards for 4th through 10th. Place included a green Tier 1 recruitment scroll, a green building blueprint, and a green selective weapon chest. 2nd and 3rd places received blue versions, while 1st got purple. Checking the leaderboard, 1st was Gang Yu, 191,400. 2nd, Hanjong, 202. 3rd, Boji Haiyan, 168, overwhelmingly crushed. He didn't look further. The gap was too vast, and his world tree had extreme growth potential in the region. As long as he survived, 1st place was already firmly his. The chat erupted with a mix of awe and disbelief. Ko Yang-su told everyone to skip the rewards and look at the regional leader. Tong Jin-woo called it outrageous and complained he only had 32. Kuchun Bang quoted his entry with a poetic line about gazing at the moon from a well. Hyang-du said he hadn't seen anyone higher. Tong Jing-yo said world heroes were as numerous as cars crossing a river, and the world channel still had 4-digit and 5-digit territories. Gang Jin-woo grumbled that people on the world channel didn't believe it and insisted they were lying, but he wanted nothing to do with them. Clamor, he was already by the bonfire, starting today's mutations. The first item was the militia training manual. The unstable mutation took effect. Militia training manual underwent a positive mutation. His militia training manual mutated into beginner elemental spell insight. Today's positive count was 0. Today's unstable count was 2. Spell insight, his first thought was speechlessness, not joy. Could he understand it? Could he even use this thing? Although he could freely cast explosive fireball, that was entirely based on a skill book. He hoped this wasn't like that. He checked, beginner elemental. Spell insight, purple transcendent quality, a one-time consumable recording. Legendary experts research on several low-level spells, including fireball, explosive fireball, and chain fireball. After use, it randomly optimizes the model of one beginner-level spell skill containing the note, with fireball in hand. The world is mine. What kind of mage are you if you can't cast fireball? His action stirred a storm in Martin. What kind of ability changed the essence of an item? Martin noticed his casualness, plus Aisha and Fenrir's calm reaction. This meant the Lord's strange powers had been demonstrated before, definitely not a one-time thing. His perpetually smiling face stiffened slightly as Martin's loyalty climbed to 68, but he didn't care. He only mutated things in front of his subordinates to show off. He used the insight directly, which turned into a ray of light and entered his body. Beginner elemental insight was lost, but his explosive fireball got optimized. Charge time is 2 seconds, damage is 280%. Cooldown down to 30 seconds, mana cost down to 40. An upgrade worthy of a legendary mage's insight. Now, unstable mutation takes effect. The ice crystal fruit undergoes a random mutation. That item of his mutates into a crystal fruit tree. Today's positive is 0, unstable is 1. Talk about rejuvenation, like an egg instantly becoming a chicken that lays eggs. He puts the sapling away, totally satisfied. Yesterday alone, his territory had consumed nearly 30 meat. Plans have to change, including his 3rd mutation target. Unstable mutation activates on the fruit. The ice crystal fruit mutates into a primary ice element crystal.